cover your wounds, but underneath them, a million voices in your head that whisper, stop now. Another twist of the knife, a turn of the screws, it's all in your mind, and it's fighting you on yourself. The storm is coming. Wow, kid, what you gonna do now? It's your reflection looking back to pull you down. So are you gonna die today or make it out alive? You gotta conquer the monster in your head, and then you'll fly, fly, phoenix fly. It's time for a new empire. Go bury your demons, then tear down the ceiling, phoenix fly. And now you're playing with matches, come out of the ashes underneath you. A million voices in the crowd, they're screaming, stop now. Well, let them swallow the pride, you're turning the tide to true believers. Got them in the palm of your hand, you're playing God now. What you gonna do now? It's your reflection looking back to pull you down. So are you gonna die today or make it out alive? You gotta conquer the monster in your head, and then you'll fly, fly, phoenix fly. It's time for a new empire. Go bury your demons, then tear down the ceiling, phoenix fly. What you gonna do So are you gonna die today or make it out alive? You gotta conquer the monster in your head, and then you'll fly, fly, phoenix fly. It's time for a new empire. Go bury your demons, then tear down the ceiling, phoenix fly.
Welcome, everybody. It's a lovely, lovely Sunday night, and we've got VCS action to bring you. My name is Carrix. With me are the amazing duo of Crincy and Clockwork. How are we tonight, you two? How are we, Crincy?
We're doing great. I mean, I just recently got the information that Cerberus is actually not out of playoffs, so my happiness is definitely regained to some extent. And yeah, just having a lovely Sunday, enjoying the last few series. Initially, my hopes were pretty down, of course, because I thought they were like, yeah, out of playoffs, as we said before. But no, there's still like a slight chance my hopes get go rising up, and I feel like they are in a nothing to lose position because they might be also thought as well that the series will be over for them as well, and it would just be let's wait for next year.
Maybe. Clockwork, how are you tonight?
Okay, so I was trying to make sense of what are the standings and the situation for playoffs, and I do not understand what is happening right now. And this is just a symptom of how incredibly close the VCS is, and everything comes down to this day, possibly tiebreakers. We don't know yet, and I cannot wait to find out.
Well, I actually can break down the playoff scenarios for you because the only things we know for sure are the first three teams. It will be GARM, Team Secret, and Saigon Buffalo in that order going to playoffs. But of course, there's that elusive fourth spot. Three teams are competing for it at the moment: SE, Cerberus, and Team Wales. Let me outline some scenarios for you. This might be a bit of a long one. For Team Wales to make playoffs without a tiebreaker, both Cerberus and SE have to lose. To make playoffs with a tiebreaker, SE must lose. And that would mean a three-way tiebreaker between SE, Team Wales, and Cerberus. For SE to make playoffs without a tiebreaker, they must beat Team Secret. If they lose, they can make playoffs with a tiebreaker if Cerberus win. That would again be that three-way tiebreaker. For Cerberus to make playoffs, they must beat GE, SE must lose, and they need to win a three-way tiebreaker with the other two teams. So Cerberus are definitely in the hardest spot, but they are in our first series to play it for their life. Because if they lose, they're done. They're out of contention immediately. But before we go into this first series, I want to ask both of you a pretty simple question. Who do you actually think the fourth best team is? Clockwork, I'm going to start with you. Of the three teams I outlined, who is actually fourth best in the league?
So I'm sorry, I'm going to leak some of the brain juice that it has been flowing out after this complicated scenario, but there's no need to turn on the brain because the fourth best team is unequivocally Team Wales. We've always said that they are this coin flip team, very inconsistent based on Killer Queen and Glory, but actually in the last 3 weeks, they've been like 9-4 and they have found their road. They have been way more consistent, and on the top of that they also beat two of the top four supposedly teams that are Buffalo and Team Secret, and Buffalo and SBTC, and made it close versus Team Secret. So that's 3 out of 5 of our top teams, and I think Team Wales qualifies to be one of the strongest teams in the league.
Now, Quincy, I know your answer to that question is different, but before we go over to who you think is the fourth best team, what's your opinion on Team Wales?
I think Team Wales being the fourth best team is like a good shout. That's what I would say. Like their recent rise to form is definitely something that cannot be understated. I mean, as Clockwork just pointed out, Killer Queen and especially Glory have been looking better. Glory already looking good initially in the split when Team Wales was losing a lot of series, and we just have to understand that they have definitely been rising to some extent and a rightful contender for these playoff spots along with SPDC and Cerberus. But I think, of course, Cerberus, it might just be my personal coping, but I think on their A game, they are still stronger than them, as Adam is arguably the best ADC in the league, still like straight up hands-wise, and has the biggest champion pool that the others have. And while Yado only tends to win on Ari, it's not like he cannot play other champions in general. His Azir looked kind of good as well. And with Pan and Draktar being in, their identity to me seems pretty clear, and that is something that if they get their stuff together, can definitely overcome both Team Wales and SBTC Esports.
Fair enough, but just to stay with you for a bit there, Quincy, because we do want to talk about Cerberus a little bit more. Let's say they make the fourth spot, they clutch it out, they get the miracle run. Is that it? Do you actually think they can? How do you think they actually match up against the three teams above them of Team Secret, GARM, and SGB?
I think if GARM gets to decide who to play, so they will likely just pick Cerberus, and as Team Secret is not something they can pick, and it's just between Cerberus and the current Saigon Buffalo. And while I like to flame Saigon Buffalo a little bit in the past due to some arguments with another German analyst, I don't know who that one was.
Damn Tim.
Regardless of that, yeah, damn Tim. Poor Tim, he's just living his life in Berlin or Kiel, wherever he is, and he just gets flamed by me just so casually. Regardless of that, it's likely an easy pick for instead of GARM. And is that it? The sad answer would probably be yes, as GARM is just that strong at the moment. And even if Cerberus would be like on their S plus game, GARM would likely just 3-0 or 3-1 them. If Garm, however, goes the fancy feet and just picks Sagan Buffalo instantly to knock them out before they can write their hopes up, Cerberus would then play Team Secret and that is an opponent where there's like at least a 10 or 20% chance to actually beat them in the best of 5.
And keep in mind, there is a loser's bracket in playoffs. So one loss is not the end. So Cerberus, going up against Team Secret, maybe can get something done, or going up against FCB could potentially get something done, rather, is what you actually said. Clockwork, what's your take on Cerberus if they were to make that top 4?
It's a bit of a tough path for them because most teams in the league actually have a very strong top side, which is at the moment what Cerberus is lacking the most. They haven't been too consistent, especially the Korean duo of Post and Leash, but also Pan and Drakthar have showed some lapses in judgment, and Yado, I think this is one of his worst splits to date. So it's very hard for them to find a really solid win condition across the map. Whereas GAM specifically, they have very strong top sides, and it will be very hard for them to match up against them. I think maybe in the lower bracket, they can edge up a win against an off-day Team Secret, or, I don't know, Buffalo if they make too many mistakes. But still, I don't think they will survive this playoffs run.
Fair enough. Looking away from playoffs for a moment into our first series, it is going to be Cerberus taking on Genius Esports. Now, Genius Esports, I think we had a graphic on screen moments ago. They're in eighth place. They have been abysmal in the back half of the split. There's no really other way to put it. They looked okay at the start of the split, but the back half of the split has been absolutely terrible out of them. Clock, is there anything they can do against Cerberus?
Shorten the time of play as much as possible, because it will be like down the line of the tiebreakers, game time matters. So that's probably the best contribution that they can have at the moment. Maybe this is too much of a diss, but 8 losses in a row, and also a couple of substitutes in play for the last, I think, a couple of series, really makes it hard for me to find some light in Genius at the moment. And I think they should just think about what to do in relegation.
Fair enough. Crincy, do you see any glimmer of hope?
I actually want to put some silver lining on the opponent of Cerberus right now, despite me being the obvious Cerberus shill all the time on the VCS broadcast. I think if Slater plays, and the whole roster is like the main roster is playing for Genius Esports, they still have like decent individual players, but they can play win lane, win game, and especially as a team like Cerberus, who the pressure is definitely on right now, could actually falter that. If they are kind of known choke artists in playoffs or even shortly before playoffs right now, could be something that Genius Esports is playing for. And with Yado mostly winning on just Ari and Yijin also contesting his champion pool, with Diego being his best pick, there's like some opening for them.
For sure, and into draft we go for game 1 of Genius Esports taking on Cerberus. With GE over on the blue side to start it off, as Kalista and Talia are the first ones to be removed.
Both, of course, like the most obvious meta choice, as Talia has been rising to priority as a peak mid lane champion. Also one that would work well against the Ari that Yano probably likely still wants to play. And Kalista, the best AD carry in the patch, is basically banned every single time, and especially against Artemis, you cannot really like play the gamble there and just give Artemis Kalista. Maybe you would be ready to play it yourself, but Genius Esports in the AD carry position doesn't seem to confident, as they banned the Draven as well, and that to me, before seeing it, indicates to me that maybe Slater actually isn't playing.
Point, and I also expected Genius to ban this Pantheon on this side, because I especially like this new aggressive pick that has returned to the meta, and Drakthar has been quite a good player on the pick, so I expected it was a ban on blue side, but Cerberus decided to remove it. Of course, they don't want Yijin to shine on the pick as well. Yes, enabling their junglers is crucial on both sides of for both these teams, because in every case, the solo lanes have struggled, so sacrificing your jungler as well is going to be dangerous on either side.
And what I would expect to be prioritized in this first pick rotation would likely be something like Wukong, as both junglers are playing it. It's usually Wukong Viego maybe being traded between those exactly, or something like the Ari being targeted, as Yado is very proficient on it, and Genius wants to have it themselves, but they actually first picked the Camille, which is very, very new, as Camille hasn't been a recent stable pick of the top lane so far. I don't want to say it's very bad or anything, but picking it so early just asks to get counterpicked, and the Jax is already being hovered by Pun, and Pun is a Jax enjoyer, so that being picked pretty early would also work for them.
I don't think they have to pick it that early. I almost think it's funny that Pun is just hovering it, being like, you know what you just did, right? But they are just going to grab the Ahri and the Wukong. Wukong is just probably the highest priority jungler on the patch at the moment, particularly in the VCS. And Yado, he wins on Ahri and loses on most other things, so it's a good start at least.
Cerberus wisely decide that for this very crucial series for them, they are defaulting on comfort and just not experiment anything, just go for the safest option that they have, which is good. They need Yado to perform, so less risk as possible. Now, Genius should have maybe thought of banning this. Maybe they have something in mind to counter this, and seeing the Vi, maybe the Sylas, they already start looking like proper answers, like point and click, very long potential to steal their ultimates. They are answer that I like against this pocket pick.
Especially like good answers in the direct matchups, right? Sylas just out-countering the Ahri in the side lanes later on, that she could just use everyday shit the Ahri has, with the Spirit Wash being hijacked by him, and also still using Abscond of Dark, the Kingslayer, to follow up onto an Ahri, which definitely increases his kill pressure. And Wukong pick has been very smart, as Viego would have been a very pickup against the Wukong, so there's like one pick already died by the side of Yijin. And I like the Vi pick as an answer, as that would be their adaptation, as it just dissuades Artemis from picking up the Zeri, as you do not want to play Zeri against Vi at all. The guaranteed lockdown is just too much.
And as we move into the second set of bans, it will be Senna removed. Neither team has actually picked up an AD carry at the moment, but despite that, Zeri still open. Zeri Yumi is still a possibility actually for both teams, such a strong combination. Siva as well, maybe the team's just kind of opting in and saying, well, if you pick Zeri, we pick Siva. But I'd love to see Cerberus just ban Siva or Zeri and pick the other one.
They should just pick Siva, actually. They don't want Zeri because of the Vi pickup, and them having Siva against Vi would be brilliant. Like, you can spell sheet the Cease and Desist, and the Vi doesn't get to have any fun. That's why I would assume that GE right now will ban the Siva, so Cerberus has to maybe take Zeri in the Vi despite not liking that, or just Artemis defaulting for a different pickup, but they will ban the Samira, so I really want Siva right now for Artemis.
I think Siva makes the most sense, for sure.
We are good.
Of course. I'm still hoping for a Seraphine angle. I think it would be quite good for like all the Cerberus have built so far. Provides a lot of sustain and help in these like brawl team fights that Cerberus might want to go for. And at the same time, Genius picks at the moment are all melee, so a lot of tools that the Seraphine would provide. There's still the option to have it as support, since Yuba is playing notable Enchanter player, not their own OP. So yeah, I'm still hoping for that.
So I do want to make one comment. As the Jinx is being picked up, people are going to say, well, why is Zeri getting all the way through draft? Buns is not an AD carry. He is a support player that has been role swapped. And as much as people meme on Zeri, she's actually an extremely difficult ADC to play at the professional level. So I think he's just not comfortable on the pick. And please lock in the Ivan.
Ivan would have been very fun, and they also need to note that they are actually picking an order on the side of Genius Esports, which is very, very satisfying to see. And you don't want Zeri against Silver, especially if you're like out of field AD carry against Artemis Silver would be one way to go to the hell on the side of them. And yeah, Cerberus, though, you need to put that much effort to have a strong laning phase there. And Huber, as Clock mentioned, is a good Enchanter player, so the Yumi makes a lot of sense for them. Especially Yumi can be paired with the Jax, can be paired with the Wukong, especially in teamfights, to be an absolute nightmare to fight in the mid game. And Cerberus, I think they're very happy with this draft overall. And Genius Esports, especially with Cerberus later not playing, they are far from the favorites here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fully understand the Gragas support pick, I'm going to be totally honest. It feels like it's not very good into the Siva. A quick spell shield on the cask, I mean, it's not super easy to do. But again, I think it's fair. I think the question, who do you think is going to win, is a little bit boring because it's just Cerberus. If you didn't see the nameplates, who do you think has actually come out ahead in draft one?
Quite a tough question. I prefer Cerberus draft because it has a little bit more option. You can either Deathball or send Jax and Ahri on sides and try to split the map with 1-4 or 1-3-1s. I think it has a bit more options to play, whereas Genius has pressure on Coated, on Blazes, on Legion to find his peaks somewhere in the jungle or in the side lanes, and it requires a skill difference that at the moment they do not have, I think.
Princey?
I agree. I think it's Cerberus even with nameplates office, I would say. Like, the Silver just gets a free laning experience against whatever the Jinx will really bring to the table. Cannot really get teamfighted by the Vi due to the spell shield. And Ari Wukong, despite being counterpicked individually, is still such a strong mid-jungle early game duo. And with Jax being up there against Camille, you also win the side lane later on. And Yuumi as a backup plan, it's just Cerberus all the way.
All right, well, I will be going over nice and early to our casters. Rebel and Echo, take it away, you two.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Let's get right into this thing, Rebel. I gotta say, I'm a little scared of that Gragas Dark Tech that we just witnessed. This is something I haven't seen before, so I'm spooked. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's a specialty here in the VCS, and I'm happy to get to introduce you for the first time to a lot of the stuff that you're going to see here. It's unfortunate also that we probably won't get to introduce you to one of the most important facets of the VCS, which is that the worst draft actually wins. Okay, that's normally the case, and so our analyst test was talking about how much better that the Cerberus draft actually is, but in reality, we know that GE 90% of the time is going to win this game just because they said that. But unfortunately, I don't think it's in the cards for GE today. They've been struggling a lot. They got their substitute AD, and it's not a great look for them at the end of the season here.
It's the desk curse angle, man. Think of the optics. You go on like a 9 game losing spree, and then you get your win by taking out Cerberus. That would be one hell of a move. I'm not gonna lie.
It'd be frustrating for Cerberus fans everywhere. Crincy might actually throw something, or you might throw clockwork, to be quite honest, if I'm being real, off the desk just as fast as possible. But I mean, we could always hope, right? Like there's always good play to be had on the side of Genius. They're a talented team walking into the split. I think we had higher hopes for them than we did other times. There are right times and wrong times. Not to mention there are actions that are solid here. Like something our desk I don't think mentioned all that much is that Gragas might be terrible into Sivir, but Gragas is not terrible into Yuumi because you do have point and click CC if you flash the body slam right on top of her, which prevents Huber from reattaching. So there's things like that if you want to get aggressive, but I feel as though it is a difficult draft to try to play out here. They're really hoping their top side gets better, which is why I'm also going to introduce you to another little meme that we have, which is I'm going to say that Coded is bad, because when I say Coded is bad, he plays out of his mind for absolutely no reason. But if I don't say that, then usually he just gets stomped in the laning phase. We'll see if that continues today as well.
All right, well, yeah, we'll have to wait and see for that. Already, my God, here we on this Yuumi, just applying a lot of pressure here already. Wow, we're getting lower and lower. Dude, oh my God, I like to see this. Just the amount of dominance coming out from the cat. You got to protect your territory.
Yeah, not only did BOB not take E at level 1, which is enough of an indicator for Huber to just kind of stand forward. Cerberus was having some mid-season kind of wallops with their old support Ron OP, who has always been in competition for one of the top spots, but on occasion just has these dark streaks of poor play, and this split definitely had one of those, which is why Huber comes in as this replacement, usually a pinch hitter, where Ron OP is more of the Alistar, the Leona, the tank type player. Huber is the one that comes in and plays the Enchanters, and since Enchanters have bopped up a little bit more and Ron OP has been faltering just a little bit, Huber's actually done, in my opinion, very, very good work in the replacement pinch hitting slot here, as Drakthar wants some into Yijin. Yijin's got no Q now, which is a difficult position to be in, but Drakthar does not have lane support from topside. Instead, he might just walk up there to try to salvage what's happening with Pun and Coded at the moment.
Yep, looking to maybe find something there, Pun. He's waiting. If you can get that counter strike going, maybe they can find something. Actually, Drakthar did end up looking to find Yijin here instead, looking to just steal away the Gromp here. It's going to have a reset. Nothing really going to come out of that just yet, and so it's going to have to leave that jungle empty-handed. But oh my God, first blood. Meanwhile, the ball going on over to Artemis with that boomerang blade coming back. Rest in peace, Biobot.
Yeah, BOB is feeling it. Unfortunately, it seems like Huber's poke combined with Artemis, and Buns is actually in a really bad position as well, as he just has to run backwards on this Jinx.
Yep. Dropping the chomper, but it doesn't even matter. The Yuumis are coming through, but not quite gonna catch him. Just gonna drop that ward down instead. Gonna look to back off. But things were looking pretty dicey there for Buns.
Was still very low health as well, so I think it's difficult for BOB to actually get into the bottom lane. And so Artemis and Huber should just be able to dump as many abilities as they want. It's a cannon wave, so it's a little more difficult for Buns to try to push out here. They should have an opportunity to back and spend some of the gold that they've gotten, as it looks like Pun and Coded have both taken their first resets as well, so a little bit more health to work with on the top side of the map. Is scrapping in a couple of places. Easy enough setup for both these teams to just begin the game the way that they would like it to.
Yeah. What I'm seeing something that I'm noticing that the double Doran's blade start here coming through actually is a Goated also needs to be careful there. That's I don't know what to make of that, if that's just a bug or if that's genuinely happening.
Sometimes it's for the flat stats. It doesn't give you double Omnivamp anymore, so it's a lot less common and a lot less good than it was a long time ago. For some reason, I feel like I've seen Coded specifically do this more often than not. And I'm not really entirely sure why, but you actually get the exact replication of that on Pun in the top side as well. So it's just both double Dorans as of this laning phase, which is cool.
Yeah, double flash coming out here, triple flash coming out as well, and Yado just gets absolutely run into the ground. Nowhere for him to go. That was a nice little roam coming through here.
Yeah, it's a ramification of Artemis Huber not only getting the kill against BOB, but then also dumping into the wave to make sure they could get a back off when BOB returns to the lane, has a moment of freedom to kind of help out for Blazes. And especially since Slater's been pulled out of the lineup, if Genius Esports really want to make competition happen, it's got to be through this mid lane, through Blazes, even though he hasn't had the greatest of splits. Is this actually how... No, shit. Huber just did him so dirty with the Ignite. Oh.
That is evil. Absolutely evil. That's all I can say to that, with Drakthar grabbing himself the crab, looking to maybe head on down. No, gonna opt instead. Head on up. Drag is still up at the moment. Not pivoting towards it just yet. We see the bottom side coming through onto Artemis, but he just does maybe too much damage here. The heal's coming through. He's trying to find that solo kill. The flash coming out from Buns. And so he's going to be safe for now, but oh my god, the double threat coming over the wall, and then Blazes spots him out. Yada with the dash to look to go in. Can he get that kill? He will indeed. You can't cleanse death. Down he goes. BOB eating the dirt as well, and Blazes is just barely getting out of that one. Charging up that Vault Breaker, but it's nothing for you to break there except your own health bar if you decide to go in on that one.
They got a wave pushed as well, so it's an easy way to get out of this situation. The next wave should be coming to 2, so they should have 2 plates off minimum. Dragon setup is there as well from the side of Cerberus. They're not taking it easy on this bottom side, which is fair. Again, Buns is the substitute player. He's a substitute support player, let alone ADC, as opposed to anything else, as the Huber does not get hit by Eugen's Q. Instead, the poke will just continue to rain down from Artemis, making sure to punish this lane as much as possible. Just completely prevented Buns from getting any of the wave as well, so they just completely shoved him away, made sure that the wave was gone as well. So it's not even the kills that necessarily make the most difference here, but everything compounding all at once. Cerberus playing around this bottom side perfectly. This is not the person you want fed mid lane.
God, yeah, no, there's nothing he can do. BOB, the body slam right into the wall under his own turret, just goes, I do not care. You die here. And they're looking to do the same thing with Drakthar. He's getting lower and lower, but Blazes on full cooldowns at the moment. Just can't find the damage that he needs to take him out.
Yeah, it's again, I expected coming into the day, especially since Slater is not around and is usually their primary carry, or one of their primary carries, that was going to be a problem.
No, Buns! They run him down under his own turret! This has to be illegal!
They have bailed on bottom lane. They've bailed on Buns completely. Like, he just doesn't exist in this game. Poor man has to come in and substitute at an off roll, and they've still just thrown him to the wolves.
Yeah, Artemis. Okay, Flash is gonna come out, gonna dodge that abscond, so it's gonna stay alive.
Just a little bit. Able to stay relatively safe there. Has the flash. Does have to burn Ghost and Flash. Still had heal as well from Huber, so there's still a possibility that was going to be an okay situation one way or another. But yeah, again, it seems like Genius Esports, they already made the very tough call to not have Slater in the lineup. We've heard reasons why, but again, it's more speculation than anything else. We're not going to talk about it, but Buns is clearly having not the greatest of games, having to take the Jinx instead of taking the Zeri, having to play a less optimal champion, as well as just having struggles with the AD role in general, and already BOB just kind of sacrificing it. Again, their win condition is set to be Blazes, it seems like, in this game, who hasn't had the greatest of splits, but has shown before. As
Oh my
now
god,
outside.
so much CC comes through though as Drakthar eats the dirt. Blaze is picking up that cycle, hijacking it, able to utilize it perfectly. I was just about to say that this is where things might look dangerous for Genius Esports, right? Because now we have that cyclone coming up for Drakthar, but they just hit him with the Uno reverse card. They're like, no sir. And now look at that, BOB on his way up in the top, and the body slam should come through any second. He's waiting, he's buying his time. Hextech ultimatum as well, and there's nowhere for Pun can do. The counter strike, the flash, the thumbs up just to be toxic and rub it in, and he walks away from that like it was nothing.
Oh my goodness. And this whole time, they're giving away their bottom side. They lost the Rift Herald to Drakthar seconds ago. Yes, they got the kill, but Artemis is just going to pull entire bottom tower and is already up 40 CS over Buns to begin this game. Once again, Genius Esports have come to the conclusion that they are not winning anything on bottom side, and so they have completely given it away. But the problem is, now you are feeding one of, if not the best member on the side of Cerberus to give gold to in Artemis, not only being on the silver pick, but also just being one of the primary carries for this team in general. This has never been a strategy that's worked. When this team won in winter, this was exactly what most teams were trying to do, is play away from Artemis, and it did work. It just didn't happen. There's a reason why they won that split. Maybe it's a little bit of a different team, but once again, it seems like more and more often towards the end of the season, we're seeing a bit more of the Cerberus that ended up winning the split as opposed to, you know, the team that ended up falling short of expectations in the spring of this year. And this game has been incredibly indicative of that once again, as Cerberus putting a lot of their chips into the Artemis basket, and honestly, it's coming up well for them so far.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely paying off. You look at the farm difference, you look at the item differential as well. Already has boots, already has the Kraken Slayer. Everything's looking up for Artemis right now. And when you're one of those pivotal building blocks, that's just exactly what you need. And then you look, the kills over on CS are fairly evenly split as well, which is always nice to see, right? So really everyone is going to be a bit of a threat.
No.
As you see this Rift Shell getting dropped, that's a bit of a threat for this mid turret because there's no one to answer, no one to defend it in any sense or form. And so it should be going down. Yeah, there we go. Down it goes. No one there to even defend it. BOB on the flank, though, they might look for some kind of player. They're going to try and maybe get this crash, and I don't think they're going to find it. Nope, they won't, and they're just going to opt to back off instead. And BOB is like, you know what? We'll just spook them.
I've already torn down 2 full towers as a result of this game. It's going to be a pop the
okay.
Silver Ultimate.
They're going to reverse it, actually. Cyclone coming through. BOB going to go gold. They're going to switch targets on the EG, take him out. Next up, Buns on the list, taking him out too. Blaze is running for his life. The turret will be his only saving grace as BOB going to look to head top lane as well. And finally, they're looking to pivot to go get that drag. It's been 11 minutes, make that almost 12. They'll finally get that first drag, and they're also going to get this kill on Punya. This time around, nowhere for him to go. Get lower and lower and lower and lower, and down he goes.
Again, it's peanuts compared to what else is being given across the map. It seriously is just like BOB continues to look for these plays, and every time something goes awry, he just bails on it and just does something else, which is fine because they're getting something somewhere on the map as a result of it. But when you're losing, bottom tower direct into mid tower, into a fight in the mid lane, into a dragon, and you're just losing these chain objectives again and again, it's such a difficult situation. Here, it's Drakthar that makes the difference inside of the fight, but Huber's already insanely strong. That ultimate did a ton of damage. Artemis is already insanely strong inside of the game. I'm surprised they didn't stick for mid tower and just try to push that down in the face of Blazes because he doesn't have wave clear and he's a melee champion. They could have easily bullied him off that one, then walked in for Mountain Drake, but I guess they didn't see where BOB was and whether Coded could join in that fight or not, but felt like an opportunity for them that they might have left on the table. Not to say that they needed anything else, because 12 minutes in the game, 4K gold advantage, first dragon. That's more than enough on its own to count this as a win so far from the side of Cerberus.
Yeah, definitely still a good position to be in. BOB, though, with the big brain long con play here, really biding his time and waiting. They have Vaultbreaker up as well. There's no way that Pud falls. He might just actually fall for it. Drakthar is at the top. He's trying to come on in, so we do see the counter-strike getting dropped, but the keg to push him back into harm's way. Down he goes. The final chapter gets dropped, and they'll find themselves coded at the very least. The Cyclone getting dropped as well. Ejin is going to be able to escape due to BOB with the body slam, so ultimately they will go 1-for-1. Blaze is on his way up as well, though, but not looking like they're going to find too much more.
And the combined team fighting prowess from not only like the Wukong Yuumi combination, when you throw Artemis on the Sivir into everything, it becomes a really menacing 5-on-5. And so Genius Esports are very much attempting to play away from anything that could be combined like that. When you've got that combination of ultimates, that combination of AoEs and multi-target hits, they lose pretty much every single circumstance. They are much more focused on bringing down single targets at a time. This is Pun's like 4th time being ganked in a game like this. I don't know what Yijin was doing right there, fault breaker in the exact wrong direction to do anything. Now, props to BOB because, again, he was in the right position and also stalled for a lot more time, didn't allow for Drakthar to get any closer because the turret was a lot further up than anywhere else.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait, though, because right now it's a huge fight going on. Artemis actually about to be taken out. The king has been taken down. No one there to back him up. Yano had to dip, had to leave him in the dust, and with no Yumis and Zoomies, he went down and ate the dirt. Same thing going to happen to Drakthar if he's not careful. That precision protocol doing quite a bit of damage. But with that mid-tier 1 still being up, there's just nothing that Genius Esports can do right now.
I was trying to figure out what exactly Artemis was doing in the opposing jungle for what looked to me like absolutely no reason. But as we get a fight in the mid tower, things are back.
That is rough. Coded, just barely getting out of that one alive. So close. Turret damage diff ain't happening today as he gets out with, just a sliver of HP. I think Drakthar might still be looking for something. Yep, we see the cycle coming out. A lot of damage on the BOB. If they can find this kill, that'd be huge. They take out one. Yijin in the thick of things onto Yaddle, trying to find something. They're back at the turret, though. They won't take him out, though. Blazes just barely able to escape, but Yijin won't. Never mind. He's not going anywhere. Artemis is looking to just run it to the bank. He should get this last kill as well, and there we go. A triple kill for Artemis.
Able to stall long enough. It's not like late enough in the game for this kill to have mattered, and Artemis was able to come back through mid lane. And this was Drakthar and Huber both got their ultimates up just seconds before this ended up happening. And so they saw Artemis coming in. They saw this team was kind of posturing him out of the mid turret, and they're like, Genius doesn't expect this in the slightest. You can see a picture-in-picture. They are still hunting for more members of the team. Coded might just die anyway. Huber's going to grab him. But second Rift Herald of the game now, multiple fight wins. There's little knocks against them because Genius Esports has been leaning heavily into one side of the map or the other with multiple members. But honestly, they're shifting their weight around like this makes it super easy to just trip them, make them fall face first into the pavement again and again and again as Cerberus keep making their strikes feel so much more impactful.
Yeah, definitely. Every time Genius finds anything, anywhere, they're always, it feels like, losing something somewhere else. And then when you do end up finding these team fights, right, then it's just Artemis, who's just an absolute speed teamer, right? He's running that Mach 5 constantly. He's got the ghost, he's got the ulti, he's got the zoomies, he's got everything in the bank. And Coded actually ended up getting pretty much baited there, hook shot over the wall, but then my god, that was chef's kiss right there. No, what is this? What are they setting up for?
They're desperate. Like, it's so obvious that Genius Esports are desperate inside of this game. They've been struggling the most of this split. They've got this massive loss streak. Like, they have not been able to figure out how they want to play as a team, how they want to play individually. This is a team that we had higher expectations for as we kicked off the split, and it just has fallen completely to the wayside as they have not been able to find wins at all on the second half of the split either, which has been very, very difficult to watch, unfortunately, for a team that's got some solid talent on it. And it's kind of culminated in this position where, once again, Slater just takes a departure from the roster, and now Buns is playing, and you can see the ramifications of that. 17 minutes in, down 70 CS to Artemis. I know it's not the easiest mark to hit 10 CS a minute, but he is just absolutely devastating. And that's just the one player on this roster. Is all 4 members of Genius are going after Pun, and they're not even gonna get him yet.
Oh my god! Okay, they find okay at the very least they get him. But look at that! Once again, they follow suit. They're losing everything. They're losing their own base. It's like you can take out Pun, but they're gonna take out your base in return. They lose their bot tier 3. They lose the bot inhibitor. It's gonna crash into this Nexus turret. Down it's gonna go as well. Yijin in the thick of things needs to flash to try and get away, but it doesn't matter. You can't escape your fate. You're paying the Pun price right now. The Pun tax has been paid, and you're gonna lose your second Nexus turret as well, unless they are gonna be able to just barely hold on. Hold offensive. BOB, the GOAT maybe though, comes in with the keg. They find themselves the double kill. The question is though, at what cost?
It was a bold move in general from the side of Cerberus to end the game right here and right now, but I do respect them for giving it a shot. They could have just walked away with the inhibitor, gone back to Dragon, and just said, okay, that's what we'll take. But I think maybe they had seen that Genius Esports wasn't quite in a backing mood yet at the time. The only one who had left really was Yijin. They bring down Yijin pretty quickly with a couple of ultimates. I think, once again, expecting this to be the only person that can stop them. They bring down half the tower, but they forget they're only on like an item and a half at this point in the game. It's only 18 minutes in Echo. And so they're like, oh, that's right. And like you said, BOB with an amazing flank actually has found a couple of these decent plays on the Gragas walking in. Again, it feels too little too late. They don't even get Dragon for that, but at least they do keep their base up to some manageable degree. And now maybe with perma push on bottom side, Buns can farm for once, as Pun once again getting aggressed against.
Yeah, oh my god, no, poor Bun. He can't even step foot out of base. And this time around, actually, Cerberus not going to find anything in return. And I think you make a great point as well with BOB, right? That's just the term too little too late. I feel like this whole game has kind of felt like that, right? It's like so many cool rotations coming out from BOB, right? Always finding, it feels like he's always like in the right position. But by the time he was actually able to do something like that, it just felt like he was lacking the damage, and just they were lacking the map control, the pressure that they needed to make those plays actually sort of, worthwhile.
Yeah. It was so late in the game that it just ended up leading to nothing. And again, kills are great because they get you gold back. The gold lead has been shrunk to 3k after enough kills have gone over to this team. You do have a relatively powerful Silas to work with. But again, you still have to worry about the fact that your Sivir on the side of Cerberus is just so ridiculously strong at this point in the game, and there's not much of a way to try to match that type of thing on the side of Genius Esports. They just have to continue figuring out ways to bear down on this composition as Cerberus kind of walk into multiple members. Once again, BOB and Yijin laying a trap. Draktar's getting caught in it.
Might just be fruitful indeed, using everything they got, and they are going to find themselves Drakthar. The return coming through, though, and now it looks to me like Yijin is going to be paying the price. He goes down. Artemis is going Mach 5 once again, just sends out the Boomerang Blade and walks away. He knows his team should be able to clean up if Punk can get on top of him. There we go, leaps on top of him, takes him out, and they're just looking to run things down. Dude, Artemis, kind of based, not going to lie. That Boomerang, and then just like turns around. He's like, yeah, you got this, right? Just clean up.
There's a whole reason that this team has been competitive for a long time. There were times where this team has gone undefeated in the first half of a split, and a large part of that's been Artemis. Artemis was like one of, if not the best ADC in the league for a good amount of time, ended up taking or like falling behind like a different ADC. I think it was Slater back in the day when Slater was the number one ADC in the VCS. And after that, Artemis has just come into his own, and he's oftentimes in the conversation for number one. Even when his team currently sits in 5th place in the VCS, it's still super easy to see just how talented and just how good that Artemis can be in any team fighting type setting. He is the rock that this whole organization, this whole team has been built on, right? They've had a lot of turnover this year. They've tried a bunch of different rosters this year. They've had 3 different substitute positions inside of the split, but it's him that's always been the consistency. And you can see it's just so easy again and again. They pick Yijin, they're going right for the Baron. And the only thing that GE can try to do is to do. They could try to contest this, but unfortunately, BOB on the other side of the map tells me that they're not even going to try. They're just going to give this Baron up. And that is a disaster for this GE team, because that should lead to top and mid both getting pushed in, probably top inner tower alone just being pushed, and set up for 3rd Dragon, which is going to make it easy to try to grab this Hex Tech Soul if you're on the side of Cerberus Esports, which is that's not good for late game. BOB, you got to not be farming right now, man. You're the only playmaker this team has.
Yeah, kind of anticipating. I feel like, you got to stop this minion wave from pushing in, right? Especially with that bot lane just having absolutely nothing there for you. And we get to see Yijin just getting absolutely picked off. Was it worth it, Yijin? Was the control ward worth it? Was that 30 gold really worth your life and the Baron? As the Argon looks to try and find something here on Pun once again, taking the brunt of things, but it does not even matter. He tanked long enough for his boys to arrive, and they absolutely run them down. Tier 2 going to go down in this top, and they're going to keep pushing this minion wave. And now Genius Esports, they know that they're in trouble. The dash over the wall here from Yarda, they're going to look to just find things. BOB with the flash to try and get away, but it doesn't even matter. Down he goes. You can throw the keg all you want. Throwing in the afterlife because he's down for the count. So is that tier 3. So is this inhibitor as well. And I think, Rebel, that this is just it. The final stand coming out here from Coded and Buns. Yeah, you drop those chompers, but they ain't going to be doing too much. I hate to say it. And with that, the Nexus is exposed. Pun trying to get the pick, but at the very least, they won't die. And so ultimately, Cerberus are going to come out victorious in game number 1.
And honestly, it feels like the only thing that Genius had going for them inside of a series like this is all the playmaking that they used in leaning really heavily into one side of the map. It just tells me that it's far more likely that that's just what they have to do in 2, maybe 3 roles, is just something that can initiate fighting and make individual plays happen. Because otherwise, you could see team coordination, the team fighting is not there. Their ADC is not up to snuff to compete with Artemis in the slightest. This is not the series, and this is definitely not the team you want a weak ADC in. And so it could be a difficulty, if this continues to be a problem for this roster, as we're gonna have to figure that out when we get into game number 2. But Cerberus looking on form. They really, really want to make the push. They want to be competitive for playoffs, and it's not necessarily completely in their hands quite yet. But the best that they can do is win this series and put themselves in a position where they can put faith into Team Secret just a little bit later on in the day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as much as it hurts, right? It definitely feels like they just told Pun, like, listen, man, you're gonna have to be the sacrifice for today. Like, they want you for some reason. They find you really cute, and they want to keep trying to get you over and over. So just go ahead, look juicy in top lane, and we'll take the rest of the map for it in return. And it just kind of felt like Genius Esports, they kind of fell for it every single time. Right? They took the bait and they sent everything they got to kill him. And then they checked their base, and it's like, oh, that's like 4 red marks in our base right now. What's going on, guys?
It was it was not an easy game to kick things off for Genius, and I suspect that it's not going to be the easiest to finish things out with. I think we're going to kick it to a very short break, a couple of minutes, maybe 3 or 4, before we kick back to our analyst desk and get into game number 2.
The night beckons while you dream. A life never lives in peace. As you stand upon the edge, woven by a single thread, and fate may fall down upon you, while the devil is knocking right at your door. So are you restless? Each night you hear the drums roar. Awaken, awaken, the voice begins to call you while you hunger. A taste of destiny you're searching for. Awaken, awaken, the fight is at your door. Take up the cause. 'Cause 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 'cause
That's an interesting game one as Cerberus takes it over GE. My two analysts, what does GE do in game two?
Lamau.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the mood in the room. They lost real bad. That was hard. Kind of hard to watch, hard to really draw anything from. Is there any bright spots? I mean, Blazers was okay, right?
He was. There were like some dark spots on Cerberus as well. Like I, as the biggest fan, can maybe go a bit into detail on that one. Yado didn't really respect gank that much. Pan went 0-4 on the Jack still, and while we have seen this finishing push, right, or this attempt of a finishing push, they were giving away way too many objective bounties and shutdowns in general. And this 5k gold they had at like 12 minutes, it didn't exceed it, even reclined back to a 3k gold at 20 minutes. And that's something that shouldn't happen, especially if you just feast on the bones of the enemy team. That was Cerberus being very, very disrespectful for sure.
Yeah, I do agree. The real issue though, and it's very obvious, it's going to sound a little bit harsh. He's a role swap player. Is Buns just can't keep up. Clockwork. How do you even attempt to stop Artemis here?
You just don't. I mean, we have been in this game. Artemis played basically a 1v0 lane for the whole time, and there was nothing the Buns could do. I mean, probably put Buns on something like Israel that he can, peel for himself and just stay away from any danger, or I don't know, Anaphilios and Ash that you can still provide some usefulness to the team, but just damage repair at this point. It doesn't seem that they have anything to do to stop these Artemis.
Princey, any ideas that maybe a draft can fix?
I agree with Clockwork actually. I think you should put him on something like an Ash, maybe even a Jhin to just go like for long deadly flourish snares to really set up your team and just play hard carries in the other positions and play strong side, top side, which they kind of try to do already. I think though, however, with Cerberus playing like this, the bot difference is just that huge that they just basically won the game out of that at like the minute 3 or 4 mark where they got the 2v2 kill, and then Artemis just together with the Yumi from Huber just going for the zoning off from the wave, and just in CS and just in the kill money itself. Buns just got crushed completely and couldn't do anything. Just put him on some utility and just keep exposing Yado and Pan, who weren't really respecting the gank pressure as much as they should have.
Looking over at the Cerberus side. Sorry, go ahead, Clockwork.
At the moment Yulwei leaves the desk, there's analysts suggesting Jhin picks.
As soon as he's not watching, we get away with it.
Right.
I'm just rubbing it in a little bit.
Yeah, if Team Secret, they've got Eddie as well. They're the second best team, picking the best AD carry of Jhin. But anyway, moving on from some memes, let's look at Cerberus, maybe what we can draw a bit more holistically, because maybe they stopped taking it super seriously when they realized that we're going to have a Sivir that's 2 items ahead. Nothing we do actually matters. But I feel like if your mid and top play like that against Wales or SE, you don't win.
Yeah, I pointed it out before game one. Cerberus top side has been, say, sloppier than my week-old soup. And it showed even against the undebatably worst team in the league. And if they don't, straighten their back a bit and take it seriously, maybe Genius can also steal the game in this series. I don't think they will end up winning, but they still need to be careful. Cerberus, they need to fight for this playoff spot, and they cannot, let anything go.
I think while that is true, I don't think they really had to respect Genius Esports that much. I mean, Genius Esports didn't really give them a position where Cerberus was like, they deserve our respect all too much. And gotta say, though, in general, is a point that needs to be addressed, as Yado was on Ari, his best champion he could play. Pan got a counter pick on the top lane, as it was B1 Camille from sort of Genius Esports for whatever reason. And I think that is alarming, as against Genius Esports, you get away with that, right? But against Wales or even SPTC, that they did beat earlier this week in the 2-1, that could have been a 3-0 in the best of 3, with all things considered, how Cerberus really played it out in the first game. But SPTC Esports and Wales look at this game, and I don't think they are afraid at all of the Cerberus lineup so far, despite having to play potential tiebreakers against them, because that Cerberus Esports, while they look dominant, it was just these Esports with an out-of-field AD carry, and beating those guys, not that impressively even, just doesn't mean much.
It's true, and into draft we go. Cerberus now have moved over to the blue side and are looking to lock in a second dominant victory and get us ever closer towards playoffs. I'd like to remind everyone, if Cerberus closes out this series and SE loses to Team Secret in the next series, which is the expected result, though that series is much closer than this one, then we will have a 3-way tiebreak. Now, you may ask, when are the tiebreaks played? Dunno. Who plays who? Dunno. We'll tell you when we know, but that's what's on the line here at the moment, as Pantheon, Talia, and Callista are removed.
What we do know is that Ari is still a menace for Genius, and that they should consider a ban from the red side, because Cerberus are 100,000% going to pick it in their first round. So Genius, do not risk it again. It didn't work in game 1, so just do not think about it.
I think they will just ban it on the side of Genius Esports. However, if not, what I could also see is maybe a silver first pick for the side of Cerberus. I don't think any counter would be ready for the side of Genius Esports. I don't just see Buns, even if Draven would be available to just pick Draven into Artemis. I think that would be a very bold call from him. So silver could be a first pick for them. It is just the best AD carry on the patch with Callista being removed. Samira also getting the Whispang ban very early on for the side of Genius Esports. And while maybe in like some world he could play Zeri, he just not didn't do it. And against silver from Artemis, it also wouldn't be the best option. So I think if Ari isn't first pick, the silver would be the next likely option for the side of Cerberus.
Wisely banned by Genius, indeed. They identified that Severe was indeed a problem, and of course, Cerberus act consequently, and they snatched this Ari. Now, it makes it a bit easier for Genius to kind of put a patch on this bot lane, but I mean, there's many AD carry that are still threatening. For example, the Zeri, for example, the Draven, I think they banned in game 1, and Artemis can just, pick them and run away with them regardless of what Genius is preparing. And maybe Senna can help. She doesn't need to do much in lane. Yasuo is extremely bold. I like Genius. I'm not saying that he's smart. Yeah, I'm not saying that he's smart, but I like it.
I mean, if they commit to this and just do a press R comp, I mean, press R comps are pretty easy to lose to.
They are. It's still, however, Cerberus just revolting back to comfort, right? It's just Raktar getting Wukong, Yado getting Ari, same old style for the side of them, and I don't think they feel too pressured by the Yasuo in general. And Senna, however, they just know how it on the side of Genius Esports, and I think that's something that they could work. If Buns isn't really fitting the bill, just put him, he's a support player, putting on the Senna, or just swap out between those two and just put Buns on the mid champion beside the Senna and put the other support in BOB on the Senna to have like some more champion comfort going on, and just scale next to Artemis, try to do that, as Artemis right now, he at least can't pick a silver anymore. Triple AD carry bans so far against him, and he also just needs like one AD carry answer that works against Yasuo, and like all these immobile AD carries are not good options against that. They just know ban away the Zaya, could use the Featherstorm to get out. Maybe even Asphalt would like be the next big option for him, or the Lucian, as they locked in Borm already, and Lucian Borm still a playable lane, especially the 2v2 if you are the better AD carry.
Yeah, Ophelio is probably not pickable into this. I think Zeri is probably still playable though, right?
Also pull in the Twitch.
Could be.
So
you can't play
this
Twitch
is
with this.
No,
You
Twitch
can't.
against wind walls.
Twitch against Windwall, no.
it's still, not optimal, but if AD carry bans, the pool is starting to get smaller. Of course, Zeri is the most likely, but we also know that Artemis has this pocket pick that sometimes he pulls out. It's a bit harder. Also, there's like Yumi still around, so it's an option. Not a good one. It's an option. Aurelia gets picked for the coated.
I'm gonna throw out just a screwball. We don't know that Yasuo is mid. I'm just saying. That could be a bot lane.
I expect it to be a bot lane.
Could be a Senna Yasuo bot lane for sure. With Aurelia being locked in, also Aurelia potential blind pick for either mid or top. It just makes the Yasuo bot lane actually more likely, I would say. And Yasuo Senna or something. I think Damwon played against T1 earlier in this day when they were getting absolutely stomped instead of T1, I gotta tell you. But that maybe not being the reason for it. As Olaf gets picked up, this will be the top lane option for Pan, and this might just force the Yasuo in the bot lane, as neither Aurelia or Yasuo wants to go toe to toe in the melee with an Olaf, especially in the early game, where the Olaf is just so strong. And we were theory costing all these maybe immobile AD carries for Artemis to play around the Yasuo, and he just doesn't care. He just locks in Cerberus, another stronger AD carry on this patch with the primary AD carries being banned away. He's surprisingly strong, can adapt his item build to whatever the hell he wants, and Renekton and Plush.
Okay, Harry, you thought that Twitch into Windwall was a dumb option. I raise you a Varus.
Just saying, there's a Renekton.
That's all I'm
on
saying.
our
Is all I'm
screen.
saying. This is not smart. I hate it.
I mean,
and
it's
I
better
also
than.
hate the-
I mean, on hit, Varus is not awful into Yasuo, and it's Biob that's playing the Yasuo as well. I mean, that's not surprising to have the support player not playing the center, but this is a composition from GE. Quincy, Renekton Plush, can you help us out?
Yeah, Renekton, of course, the very key position of this composition component, I would say, just works well against the Olaf. And setting Yasuo something, though, I think I'm kind of doubtful of. It is something that probably struggles hard against something like a Worm, and the range advantage might just be abused by Adams yet again. But what I like from GC Esports is that they are trying something, and trying something more out of the box is like the only way to really win against the obviously looking very much better team in the side of Cerberus so far. So at least try to throw a curveball, try to catch them by surprise, and maybe Diana Yasuo is what really can work with them, especially in those teamfights. Diana Yasuo is such a strong composition as well, and both in lane and in teamfights, they have ways to win the game now.
They do. Very, very strange team comps. I'm very curious how Pun is going to go on the Olaf, a pick we have not seen a huge amount of in the VCS. But you know the question I'm about to ask you: who is winning Game 2?
Cerberus, but please, Genius, make it a mud fight.
Fair enough. And Quincy, you've got one word. Who's winning?
Cerberus.
Fair enough. The biggest Cerberus shill was not going to deviate, particularly not after that game one. And I have the honor to give you back over to two amazing casters in Echo and Rebel. Take it away.
All right, thanks a lot. I mean, I think Renekton Plush put it best, right? You got to think outside the box if you're Genius Esports, right? Your backs are up against the wall right now in this best of 3. You got to win 2 games back to back. And Yijin, I like to see this confidence already coming out from Yijin. Defend your jungle. It is yours by birthright.
It's something. I can appreciate a couple of things about this GE composition. First off, once again, going a lot more for big AoE. Okay, yeah, if he has W, I think he's fine here one way or another. But also the fact that I have made mention of this a number of different times that I've had to make reference to this and no one ever gets it, but now I brought another American into the fold, and so now you understand the fact that in America we have a player that plays the Yasuo support with Senna. And now somebody gets my reference of calling it the Rovex Gambit because he plays this more than anybody else. The one place in the world that you've been able to find this tech for like 3+ years, and GE is gonna bust it out for us here on the big stage in the VCS. Just wanting BOB to have a little bit more agency, I think, after that first game, maybe buying himself a little bit more space to really work with, because previously, we talked about it, BOB has not been the stud, but after last game, maybe they have some more faith that he's gonna be able to step up for the team.
Yeah, I was incredibly surprised to find out post game that, you know, BOB hasn't had the most solid track record in comparison to what I was able to see, you know, as my first game of him. I was like, wow, this guy's the go. And then he's been struggling a little bit, but you know, regardless, it's interesting to see him put him on this Yasuo, like you said, right? Really trying to give him some more of this agency in lane. And I'm curious to see how he's gonna opt it, dude. Okay. Go to Tornado already. I have faith in BOB, and BOB I trust.
Yeah, there's things on both sides that I've fallen in pretty deep love with. Something we haven't talked about too much was the Olaf. I know Olaf got touched on a little bit by the desk, not in just passing. Obviously, into Renekton, I think it's a little harder. You get the shield now on the W instead of just like perma healing, which is a little more difficult because Renekton can shred that with the super empowered W. However, we used to have a very fantastic meme back in when Mundo was an incredibly popular top laner, Pun used to take it. We called it Pundo, and Pun V9 was his actual name because he literally would take a champion that auto attack, stand in the middle of a team, and actually walk out in like a 4v2, 4v1 situation and have multiple kills and be perfectly fine on the other side. Olaf is a very similar champion to exactly that type of dynamic. As long as the laning phase goes better than it did in the previous game, I think there's a lot of ways in which specifically Pun can actually take over a game like this. Is Drakthar is going to support the bottom lane once again.
Yep, level 3 looking to come in. Artemis already pretty low. Buns with the Ignite is going to have to go down, actually, into the hands of Drakthar, picking up that early first blood. B.O.B. with the cleanse, the flash. He's running for his life. Hits him with the tornado. That might just be his saving grace. And so he is going to get out of that one alive. But ultimately, that's a lot of plating gold going into the hands of Cerberus. That's first blood going into the hands of Cerberus. And already, things are looking dicey.
Yep, and it's bottom lane. They're putting so much pressure into making sure that Biob is going to feel the effects of everything that's come through. His Pun.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ooh, okay. You know what? I mean, hey, they get the answer. They get the answer at least.
They do. Yijin finds a way to strike on the other side of the map in the meantime. And thankfully, of course, Coded, it was a really close top lane play. This is the bottom side dive. They did so well kind of juggling aggro. I would have thought that Artemis pulled the initial kind of tower shot, but he did not. And as, Buns was able to leave tower range, they were able to not really juggle any additional aggro after getting the Ops flash and being able to, pull an entire plate off. So once again, playing around the bottom side is Cerberus, is Drakthar in this game specifically, understanding that that's the point of pressure that they want to pivot on for the remainder of the series, and has done exactly the same thing on his second pathing. It looks like just takes up his Raptor camp and likely will head from top into bottom side. We'll be around to maybe cover in case anything bad happens. I still would love to see Pun go Pun V9 once again, but it seems a lot less likely. There's been a lot of focus from GE in making sure that Pun doesn't have a good series. And so now on the Olaf, likely there just as a, I can fight out of any type of situation very closely.
Blazes is getting close to death. The flash coming out just to be safe. Doesn't want that last auto attack to hit. That was closer than I like it to be.
Yeah, honestly, Yato, I know there's a stat line that I think it's been mentioned by our desk a couple of times, but to put it in perspective for you, just how different. At one point, Yato had, especially I think in spring, he had won exclusively on Ahri. He had 8 wins on Ahri and 0 wins on any other champion. That's how much this champion makes a difference for Yato. Not that Yato's a bad player, not that I'm insinuating that. He can win on plenty of different champions, but his Ahri is his absolute specialty compared to everything else. And so he's played it pretty much exclusively in the last couple of weeks, and it's really made a difference for Cerberus. That for some reason no one is banning this champion away from him when he is one of, if not just outright, the best Ahri in the VCS.
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if they don't ban, pick it, I guess. It's like, hey, you give him the opportunity, might as well grab it for himself. And so far, he's been showing us some moves on the Ahri. It's been very respectable as we see Jin actually chilling here. Maybe he's going to look for something as the wave is pushing in right now for Artemis and Huey. So maybe tries to find something here, really biding his time, though. Now or never has that blast cone available, so can get over the wall if Eugen feels so fit. But now Drakthar is pulling up as well, and things. Oh, Lord. Oh, okay, gonna spot him up with a sweeper. Don't think anything really gonna come out of this one. Yep, just gonna go ahead and be like, I know you're in there, I'm gonna leave.
Yeah, Drakthar also lower level Yijin, able to power farm up to 6, and so is ready with that Moonfall to be able to jump in either on bottom lane or be able to fight. Drakthar spotting that out means that he gets his bot lane a little bit more safety. They deny a fair amount of minions because they were able to crash a couple of times here. Is in the mid lane, Drakthar and Yijin showing up in time.
Yep, trying to find something, be careful, but it's just going to be able to dash away from that one. Nothing really coming out of that, and so Drakthar is going to go ahead and opt to just keep it up. And needs to hit that level 6, needs to get that Cyclone if he wants to contest with Yijin, who is going to opt to actually go ahead and just start taking away his camps, wants to deny that if possible.
Certainly will. You can see, again, Yijin is doing pretty well in terms of farming in this game. He's going to maybe look for another topside setup. Drakthar will head up, and I'm assuming he will know that his blue buff has been taken and know that Yijin is at least in the area. Hopefully give information to Pun right now, but
Dominus getting dropped as well, and doesn't look like it. Down he goes, eats the dirt with the Dominus being popped, the moon crash coming out, everything under the sun. Just nothing that Pun could do there as he goes down under his own turret. Drakthar gonna at least be there to hold the turret, make sure that plating doesn't go into the hands of anyone, but he's just gonna have to back off.
Has the level 6 now, which I think was the one thing that was missing, is bottom lane. Oh, no.
Oh, that was huge, dude. Oh my god. That was a nice thing coming out there.
Yeah, right on the level 6 breakpoint, too. It looks like Artemis was able to snag that at the last second and pop it so that they could catch Buns as well. It's unfortunate the kill did go over to Huber instead of going over to Artemis. Had to be wary about the tower shots, but it's another game where so much has been levied into making sure topside is going to go better for Genius Esports that they are just ignoring the bottom lane, down half the CS that they've gone for at this point. Buns, you can see, is just getting bullied. It's probably just a stun up after the wind wall has gone down. That's all that's really necessary. And again, right there, the level 6 tick over, right there, enough mana gained. And unfortunately, that auto was just barely not enough, but it still does lead to a double kill and an additional plate going into the bottom side of the map again for Cerberus.
Yeah, that's rough, buddy. That is very rough. And once again, we're seeing the Artemis Classic. It feels like he's up in that CS, up in itemization. He's looking good. He's got everything that he needs. And if this keeps on going, we're gonna see. I feel we're gonna see another game 1 run back.
Definitely might be. I mean, it's that situation, but not quite to the same extent. They're only up about 200 gold. Artemis is strong, but at minimum, you do have responses in, like, you have Renekton, who has good damage. It's going to take a second for Renekton to get on top of them, but that's what Yijin's for as well, as Yijin is also quite strong in this game. So they're going to be diving Pun once again.
Yep, once again, it's just the same thing over and over. Pun this time popping the Ragnarok, though, healing quite a bit. Actually, it's going to stay alive. Health bar is a bit too low here from everyone to try and go for that re-engage. Never mind, the last breath comes down, and they take him out. Flash is not going to be enough, though. The Triumph healing not coming out of that one triumphant as he does go down to the turret. Meanwhile, in this top lane, though, they are going to be taking quite a bit of platings.
They will. They're going to get at least the first 2 off. And Drakthar does have Rift Herald, and I think it would be a well-warranted kind of usage of the Rift Herald to just put this into top tower to make sure it gets taken up. So they're going to be able to get that, probably an inner tower charge. It looks like Yijin's on the way to try to prevent that from coming through, but it will be first tower for both the Wukong and the Varus in this composition, 2 of the powerful members. And they've shifted now a 200, 300 gold lead into a 2,000 gold lead over just a couple of seconds, as Yijin and Coded, again, just trying to catch to make sure that there is no additional damage to be done by the first Rift Herald. And it's a question of whether this is going to end up paying off, because Yijin's job inside of a game like this is just to assassinate Artemis. That's literally all he has to do. And so it's a question of whether Yijin is up for it. Yijin has showed us in the past there are reasons why mechanically he's been considered very good, reasons why you can have faith in him, but he's also showed us plenty of times where that simply has not been the case. And you have to worry this late in the season with a team basically playing for nothing just how much it means to him to be able to play this champion and in this game the way that he needs to ensure very proper success for themselves. So it's up for debate, and it's up for Yijin to really show that he does care and he really wants to win this game, even though it doesn't have any ramifications in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, it definitely also makes his life a whole lot easier. Obviously, that press R combo that we see coming out, but in his top lane, Coded needs to run for his life. There's no turret for him to fall back to, but popping that dominance that might not even be needed. Doing a lot of damage. Actually is able to bait out that Ragnarok and that Ghost as well. And so with both of those key abilities down for Pun, now he's got to be a whole lot more careful.
Sure does. Popped both of those, attempting to run at Coded and continue to just chain auto attacks and Qs into him is right there. Huber jumping into his ADC, a little bit trolled by getting the root. I was worried right there that it was going to cause a knockup, but fortunately Huber had the door up, able to shut out anything that would come through from Biob, as Drakthar is going to find Biob once again on the Oswell.
Yep. Double cycle getting dropped and literally nothing that BOB can do. Down he goes. Buns has to watch in horror as he's taken out, has to back off. Just he can do there, unfortunately. Look at that Huber. He goes to the jungle. He's just clearing vision. He's like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You gonna walk up at me? Try it.
They have pretty massive wave stacked too, so Artemis just gets to pull any bottom towers that they want. There's reinforcements here. Yijin and Blazes both going to try to prevent this from coming through. Artemis picks the
flawless duet. Mark through. So much damage coming through. The Dawning Shadow. They picked themselves up that first kill into Artemis. Hubert over the wall, just barely escaping with his life. Drakthar trying to find something. Yijin just barely staying alive. It's just going down though, and now once again we're in this weird position. A lot of low health bars. Turret still standing. Are they going to look to find this though? They are indeed. Yado dashing in, they find themselves the double kill, escapes on out of there. The turret damage won't quite be enough, and BOB, nothing he can do, needs to back off.
Ends up, grand scheme of things, being a 3-for-1 in exchange for Cerberus. It was Artemis getting the first kill. Again, walking into a very strange position. I assume they wanted to fight this, which is why he walked towards his allies to make sure that he would be in position to punish something like this. But the reinforce from Yato is what really sealed this one for the team, right? They get their first and second kill, after a couple of seconds. Yato right there cleaning up the second, and then being able to chase down Yijin, who is just incredibly low. They burnt everything in the kitchen sink trying to fight. As topside, we get Pun versus Coded. Pun finally comes out on top. Let's go.
Pun v9, baby. This is the start of the Pun arc. I'm telling you, man. Have faith.
Only took him like 2 games and like 9 ganks to finally be able to solo kill Coded in the grand scheme of things. As he gets Ragnarok back and probably just auto attacks him to death. Yeah, there's not really much else to talk about. As again, the shield was, I think, burnt through there by the Renekton triple Q. Oh, Pun. Okay.
Find something in the dash coming through the Mooncraft just well under the turret. That is so much damage, but it's not quite enough. Look at that turret, just chunking him down, and luckily Yijin realizes that and gets out in the nick of time, as Drakthar was there as well to lend some assistance, but close call regardless.
Absolutely. Super close. Yijin not able to get close enough, not able to get the kill. He used the rocket belt, I think, to try to break the back and the brush from Pun, but Pun had already been moving down towards his tower. And so if I had actually saved that tool, or if I had waited another second or so, maybe could have used the double jump with the rocket belt to just tip the last bit of health over Pun underneath the tower. But that remains to be seen. I'm not going to speculate on that. It was close for me. Yijin did force him away from his initial back timing, which did come through. That is a big reinforcement party up the top side. They were looking to try to find an angle on Coded if he stepped up for the tower, but Coded does not take the bait. Instead, he's just going to be able to walk out very, very freely. As Genius Esports haven't been able to find this big team fight quite yet that I think that they're really looking for, maybe around a dragon, maybe around another neutral objective here in the next couple of minutes. But for the moment, at least, I think they are floundering at least a little bit. They want to try to put Yijin and Biob together, and then put all this other AoE together as well, right? Like Buns has through damage, Blazes has through damage, Coded has through damage, but they just haven't found an opportunity to really get all of it in one place at one time, which is when this is going to make its biggest effect, have its kind of greatest use inside of a game like this. Is right now, maybe that's the opportunity.
Yeah, I might be looking for it right here, right now. So much damage coming up. Blaze is going to eat the dirt first, so when they're looking to just change things up. Never mind. Genius Esports is not getting the chance, Rebel, because everyone's dropping like flies right now. The Geniuses have been dethroned, as 3 of their members are going to eat the dirt.
Yeah, a combination of exhaust, Huber popping the shield, popping the ultimate. It just kind of thwarts everything right there that Genius Esports wanted to accomplish. And again, it's Yijin that I'm paying attention to. He's the one with a majority of the gold share. He's done a very good job farming inside of this game. Has to be a big carry for the team, and just wasn't able to deliver enough to make sure that Blaze's Biob could actually have any sort of effect in a fight like that. Kind of looking to jump the Rainers as they walked into topside river, but it just doesn't matter. The coordination isn't there as something that's been a problem for this team consistently, right? Blazes pops his ultimate, tries to set up for Yijin to really get in and get active, but it just goes down so quickly. Yijin just looking for a dive into Artemis when everybody else is basically out of the fight, as Coded once again in a bad situation.
Yeah, terrible situation. Got a little bit baited, it feels like, and let's see, goes down. Rest in peace. The 3 members they're giving him the Pun treatment this time around.
Yeah, Pun unfortunately got the Pun treatment as well on the bottom side of the map, so Blazes was able to pull the kill against him. As bottom tower is under a little bit of threat. That's the one thing that GE does have, is standing gold in some of the towers and structures that are still available. First ring of outer towers is already gone from Genius Esports, whereas it was just the top tower that was traded off at some point here for that team. As it looks like they should be able to get the bottom lane known as well, as Blazes should be the one picking that up. Yeah, look how far Panup is in this lane. He just 1v1s against Blazes. Yijin ruined the integrity of the 1v1. I'm upset about that. I always get viscerally upset when we lose our 1v1 opportunities because of somebody coming in and cheating for their team. So
just disqualified, as we're not taking that one into the books. That was just clear. That's a clear foul. Give him like 20,000 gold penalty, something like that. We're gonna have to fine him for that one. But listen, man, we gotta give GE something right now. They're struggling right now. They are struggling. They're losing towers left and right. They're losing objectives, and they're losing manpower. As it is 12-6 right now, right? 3K gold lead at the moment for Cerberus. They're looking good when we get to see those stats again. I think Artemis is like 4-1 right now. We're getting that run back. Things are looking tough right now if you're a GE fan.
He's not as insane as he was in the previous game. It's not the craziest of leads that we've ever seen in our entire existence. So the thing is, they're pushing it so effectively.
Eugen's dead. Eugen's dead. Oh, okay.
Oh.
The flash. Actually, the flash coming through is going to allow him to survive. I thought for sure that would be the end of him, but it is going to be the end for this bot 2-2 as that does go down. We see Buns and Biob on their way to lend some reinforcements. Already being spooked off, though. Going to have to go the long way around as the Rift Tail is going to crash into that turret. They're going to try and get that one down as well. They will. Are they going to get that third crash into the inhibitor? It's looking likely. It's a split. Fight is split off at the moment. Get that crash. Eugen about to be crashed into the dirt as well. Down he goes. So much damage from those denting blows. They find themselves the inhibitor, but now a lot of low health bars on the side of Cerberus. The Dawning Shadow, they find themselves the first pick, though. Never mind. Coda goes down. It's not looking good at all. B.O.B. needs to run for the hills. The undertow not quite going to hit, but it doesn't matter because Artemis is there to clean up once again. A double kill. And now it's looking to be a double kill on these Nexus turrets as well. Blazes and Buns, they can only watch such low health bars, but do they have the damage for it? It's not looking likely. They find themselves at least one pick. They're going to go down, though. And now Buns, you need to do something. Actually, no, you don't, because the turret is going to do it instead for you. It's going to keep you alive for now. But just like that, that push, they just lost almost their entire base.
This is like an exact replica of what happened in game 1. 18 minutes into the game, it feels like Cerberus is already pushing for a kill shot to bring down Genius Esports. Off the back of a really split fight, Genius Esports cannot connect their ultimates the way that they want to in any significant way. It seems like every time, you just can't find it. Yijin jumps in on top of Pun, doesn't have a reset, doesn't have flash to try to get onto Artemis. He pulled 2 members, but again, Biob is so far away, he can't even press the ultimate to get the Yasuo into a right situation. You lose a couple of members before this really starts, and yes, you get the one ultimate from Biob onto a single member. Drakthar doesn't even go down as a result of it. Like, it's disjoint. They're behind in gold. They don't really understand, or maybe they just cannot operate on the condition they've set for their team fight for themselves. It's such a difficult thing to watch as Cerberus continues to clean up a team that they're expected to and continues to make this big push to try to make this tiebreaker happen, try to put themselves in a position where maybe they can give themselves back the destiny to win their way into the playoff race over top of SE and, of course, over top of Wales, which is, I think, everybody's favorite right now to get in. But if Cerberus continues playing this well, if Cerberus continues being this competitive, I'm just really excited to watch that series when it comes to fruition.
Oh, definitely. And it's so unfortunate that Drakthar's stopwatch diff as well coming through. That's one of those moments where BOB's like looking at it. He looks at he pulls up the scoreboard, he looks at the items, he's like, why? When did that get there? Well, I did not see that there before. When did this get there? This just ruined my entire night, my entire morning.
It's like one solid stopwatch can kind of ruin everybody's day, even some of the casters' days. It's just it's always destructive in that regard. It's just something you have to play around, something you have to consider in all assets of the game. And again, the fight was lost. Even if you kill Drakthar there, like, you're still not winning by any margin whatsoever that you could count to any extent. Where Genius Esports, it would have been a very small thing to try to pull back to be like, oh yeah, we got Drakthar on top of losing most of our members and most of our base in one fell swoop.
Worth
in the all chat. That's what it is.
Exactly. Trying to find themselves to kill here onto Pun, but look at that right now, the healing coming through. Oh my god! He's just swinging left and right, barely surviving that Dawning Shadow, giving him that shield that he needs. But look who's not surviving. The rest of Genius Esports right now, because it's not looking good for them. Drakthar gonna look to pick themselves up that first kill onto Eugen, find themselves that Yato looking to be maybe next on the list. Never mind. Blazes gets charmed and stunned and everything under the sun, and down he goes. And just like that, they're gonna trade themselves 2 members for 1, and they're gonna start at the Baron as well.
And it's them picking off Yijin and then immediately going for Blazes as the 2 massive team fighters that can kind of do anything to them. Yijin has not been able to find a moment where you can press ultimate and really set up Biob for anything, set up any of these other members for any kind of AoE damage inside of a fight. And when you play a press R composition, your number 1 goal is to try to press R and have any kind of massive effect to it. But it seems like Yijin is just taking 1-2 kills maximum every single fight. And that's pretty much all that you've got.
Yeah. Okay, Rebel, stop me if you've heard this one before. Bot lane completely pushed out, Baron taken from the side of Cerberus. I feel like we've seen this happen in a game prior before.
Yeah, it's again, things have been written on the wall for quite some time for Genius Esports in terms of the split, and things were written on the wall before the series ever really started, especially with the way Cerberus has been playing as of lately. But I didn't think it was going to be this destructive. I thought they'd be able to put up even more of a fight, but it just seems like Genius Esports, again, the only time they've found success at all is just leaning multiple members into a single person on Cerberus. Pun has felt the effects of exactly this one playstyle, but ultimately, Cerberus does not care. Cerberus wants to win and put themselves in position for playoffs. They're just pushing down mid. I don't know if they're going to try to fight this.
It doesn't look like it. Listen, Genius Esports, man, if they concocted some kind of genius plan, now's the time to put it into effect. You have no more turrets. You have nothing standing in the way of Cerberus taking this win. Look at that. They actually end up respecting it, but is that going to be the call? Though everyone's going in, they'll code it. Going to be the first one to fall. Goes down, Moon Crash gets dropped. Doesn't even matter, though. They lose Yijin. They lose Blazes. They're losing everyone right now. It's going to be up to Buns and POP, and they just accept their fate. The geniuses have been fallen, and with that, Cerberus take game number 2, and they take the series as well.
They do, and now everything is thrust into SE in this next series. They're playing against the number 2 team, one of the teams sitting at the top of the standings right now, and one of the favorites, I think, to get out of not only playoffs and into Worlds in Team Secret, which is a difficult task for them to be. And if SE lose in this next series, it's going to set them up great. Genius Esports has had a struggle most of the split. The fact that they ended up in last place, I think, is not something that we expected. And the fact that AS Esports kind of came back and caught them with a rookie roster, to me, speaks a lot more on the longevity of that team and the ramifications of it. And it's a really disastrous way to end a split for a lot of the players that were on that roster. And good on Cerberus to put themselves in a position once again to compete for that playoff spot. I know it's not guaranteed. They still need some help from Team Secret, but goodness gracious, part of me really wants to see this three-way tiebreaker for that playoff spot, Echo.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A dominant showing coming out from Cerberus. Obviously, you could say going up against a rather weaker team, but regardless, it was fun to watch either way. And I think only one way to find out, is if they're going to get to that tiebreaker is to just get to the next match. But we're going to throw it to the desk real quick, get their thoughts on things. So let's cut right on back over to those lovely gentlemen real quick.
Thank you very much. We're happy to take it back as Cerberus do close it out. Their post-season hopes continue to live as Echo outlined in great detail. First question I'm going to ask, because the split is now over for GE. Crinsey, looking at them over the course of the split, what's your take on this team? And do you think they're worthy of staying in the VCS?
That depends on who's really challenging them from VCSB. I think I think Team Flash is
Flash
probably
will be around.
one of the contenders for that one. And tough question, actually, because I think individually they are not as bad, and especially when Slater was back in the roster, they were overall looking somewhat fine. I think in this game we also saw like some great lanings from both the solo laners, especially, and Yijin. He just went full AP on the Diana, and I honestly can't blame him, because what's really to work with if you have that much of a bot lane gap over there and just have to put your carry pants on your own? I think them being a last place team kind of tells the story of they maybe should not stay in the VCS, but they weren't like a bottom feeder team like, for example, in Winter Split, when we had like this Flash and SPTC rosters that were absolutely abysmal and couldn't really win anything aside from against each other. And I think we moved on from that. So depending on how challenging Team Flash looks, I would say either yes or no.
Clockwork, what do you think? What's your post-mortem on GE?
Right, so I'm gonna play a bit of the evil cop here, because Crinsey kind of
You could just say cop.
praised them a bit, and I think that Team Genius does not belong in the VCS. I mean, the last single game they have won was in week 4. After that, it's all been 0-2s against anyone, against AS as well. So their trajectory is not inspiring at all, and I would like some other team from VCSB, maybe Flash, to get a better chance than Genius, because I don't know, maybe some of their players, as Crinsey said, might stay in the VCS at the rosters, but this squad has not worked at all.
Yeah, to give my own thoughts on it, I think my problem with Genius is, unlike ASE, they're not rookies. Outside of only 1 or 2 players that are actually rookies, they're not a team that's growing. They're not a team like, look at ASE. You've got Playcool, you've got Uji, where it's like, yeah, okay, things didn't work this split, but give you guys 2 more splits, I think you'll be a really good player. Looking at this roster, it's Yejin. Like, the dude has been playing for years. I would much rather see a young team come in and get the chance to grow rather than just continuing recycling these old names, just bottom feeding in the VCS. But hey, let's move on to the victors, because Cerberus have kept their chances alive. Team Secret needs to beat SE. I want to remind everyone, if SE wins in our next series, tiebreakers are dead, they're in playoffs. If Team Secret wins, then the dream is alive. After watching this one, Crincy, do you back Cerberus? Assuming Team Secret wins, do you back Cerberus to be able to make that fourth spot?
It's kind of a more layered answer that I have to give to this. I mean, Cerberus won convincingly, but they were not convincing me of they will beat Team Wales in a potential tiebreaker necessarily. I don't think that they are like far behind Team Wales or anything. And I still think peak Cerberus would beat Team Wales, but if they're like 80% on form and Wales is like 80% on form, I would think that Wales are the favorite actually. And regardless of that other comment, I just want to add up to this. You kind of convinced me. I should also like play like a bit less of a devil's advocate on the Genius Esports hopes. They are a team of non-rookies. They performed worse than Ace Esports, who were rookies. And if you have that much of a bad macro with those skilled and experienced players, you deserve to get relegated.
Fair enough. Well, not a huge amount more to say about this one, I think. I think we might head to a bit of an early break, because there is quite a lot to say about our next series. Don't go anywhere. It should be about 20 to 30 minutes before Team Secret takes on the big chickens over at SE. SE is playing for their postseason. If they win, they're in. We'll see you soon. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, that's right, I'm a monster. I'm the monster society created. I'm the thing they blame for recession and social problems. I'm the scapegoat. If humans don't want me, why did they make me? KDA, should we show them how we do it every day? Let's get it. Kali that girl, Kali go girl, Kali gon' stop, Kali gon' skirt, Kali got a job, Kali got a word. 뜨거워 언제나 don't get burned. 넘쳐 흘러물 든 a buffet, 죽여주잖아 like a buffet. 누가 감히 on my hotbed, 그 문 열지 마 that's a rock day. I'm giving you more cause I'm greater than. 필요 없는 시험들 다 뿐이미. But all of my numbers are talking bang. 부르마 on message monopoly. 눈종이 돈이나 real money 필요 없대. 너네들이 만든 돈들 go get it, go get it, go get it. 또 미션 눈을 못대 못해 그래 너도 그래 cause I got it different. All I ever know is life upon the throne. 시작하면 끝을 보는 거야. You want more? No, I got it, so here you go. You look like you could use some more. No, I got it and never running low. Yeah, I got more than enough, set it up and away. You know I got it like boom, boom, blow your mind. Never giving less and that's how it'll stay. You know I got it like all day, all the time. When I go, it's so dope, get it cool, but I'm cold. I don't fit in a mold, I'm a rebel. I don't do what you say, making moves, I don't wait while I smile in your face. I got different DNA. What's higher than the top? That's me. Come take a look before falling on my feet. 조용히 몸을 숙여봐. So take a look, 나를 기억해, queen. All I ever know is life upon the throne. 시작하면 끝을 보는 거야. You want more? No, I got it, so here you go. You look like you could use some more. No, I got it and never running low. Yeah, I got more than enough, set it up and away. You know I got it like boom, boom, blow your mind. Never giving less and that's how it'll stay. You know I got it like all day, all the time. Way out，感觉犹如海浪的味道，不断往前，I'll never way down. This is how I do it every day. Wow, wow，这一路上的奇迹都记住了你的每一个瞬间，无比的耀眼。I know you want some more，准备好就一起走，giving it all more。No, I got it, so here you go. You look like you could use some more. No, I got it and never running low. Yeah, I got more than enough, set it up and away. You know I got it like boom, boom, blow your mind. Never get
Tell me where do I go? Tell me where do I take us? Your heart is starting to slow. May the water be safe. As I dive in, bloodstains washing underneath the waves.
Welcome back, everybody. My name is Carrick. With me is Crincy, and we have subbed out the subpar analyst that is Clockwork and brought in Renekton Plush. Thank you for being here. Of course, Crincy, you'll need to translate everything that Renekton Plush does say for us. But moving into the second series of tonight, we have SE taking on Team Secret. And Crincy, I know you are the #1 Team Secret fan. So,
Absolutely.
how do you think they're
Yeah.
going to go?
Team Secret doesn't really have to play for much, and SPTC has to play for a lot of things. So SPTC, hopefully for me, will feel the pressure and absolutely crumble under the feet of Team Secret, who are, of course, overall the stronger team. As we mentioned before, they are the second strongest team in the league, by no other team being anywhere close to them. And Team Secret, of course, for playoffs, don't want to show off too much, but still want to show that they are one of the contenders for the VCS title, or most likely even just for the World's qualification in itself, as, of course, Gam will be expected to stampede over the other teams. There's still like another spot on the line as VCS gets to have 2 spots. And for side of SPTC, I mean, players on the line for them. If they lose this series, they will be in this tiebreaker fiasco. And with Cerberus looking a bit better than them recently, and Wales looking a lot better than maybe even both of those teams recently, SPTC really has to fight for their lives.
Well, speaking of SBTC, The fact that they're involved in a playoffs tiebreak may tell you that they've been playing well. But if Spoons, you can bring up a graphic, it might suggest that their second half of the split was less good. As you can see, up against GARM, they lose. SGB, they lose. Team Wales, they lose. Yes, they have those 2-2-0 wins, but that's against Genius and ASE, the bottom two teams. The fact of the matter is that if you lose to Team Secret here, you have lost to every single team in the running for playoffs. That's just really not good enough, is it, Quincy?
It's not good enough. I think to put some silver lining on them, they lost 2-1 against both Saigon Buffalo and GAM, who are at least strong teams that are up into the playoff race and are both making playoffs so far. And what I think of SPTC, it's like they're like what Genius Esports kind of wanted to be, like a better version of them with strong individual players. Their macro not looking as crisp, but with DR1 returning to the league, he had a very good chart showing, especially in the first half of the split. Celebrity also looking like the best AD carry of all of them, but both of them kind of falling off in the later half of the split. And they have some homework to do if they still want to make playoffs and be a contending team for the world spots in the later half of the playoff run.
So, looking over at Team Secret, how do you think they actually match up against SE, and where are you worried about as a Team Secret fan?
Where I'm not worried about is, of course, the mid lane, as Artifact has overall been the most impressive mid laner of the whole VCS this year. Gotta say, though, he got absolutely cracked by Kati in the last series, and that is maybe something where he has to shake off some tilt. Kati destroyed him in the Corki versus Talia matchup, where Corki shouldn't really have that much agency in general. And Artifact, I mean, he is a seasoned player. He should recover from that player quarter killed Damwon out of the house at Worlds one time, and Damwon currently looking to reverse with T1 out of all teams, so definitely has something to speak in his favor. Where I'm a little bit worried would be the top lane matchup, as Emperor has been the Emperor for most part of the split, is the leading player in solo kills overall, and Hero sometimes has very, very bad games. Yeah, remember him getting cracked open by Kiaya in the first matchup against Garm, for example, where he looked very, very rough. And while the bot lane is that consistent, the top set of Team Secret, not so much.
And of course, sort of reversing the question, if you're an SE fan, where are you worried about, and how do you solidify those matchups?
I'm just worried in general over the SE. If I would be an SE fan, that they really have a lot of dip in their performance recently. I think what really is maybe their way in is getting a comfort pick for the side of DR1 and him just impacting the map in general a lot. He won't just destroy Artifact in lane, is what I expect to happen. And Amper get a strong lane matchup for him so he can really do damage there. And as we say that, we are back in draft, and also Renekton Plush is maybe about to be replaced by someone else.
Yeah, unfortunately, Renekton Plush has refused to actually do any drafts. We're really happy to have had you for the desk, but unfortunately, welcome back, Clockwork.
Okay, draft started. Okay.
Yeah, it has.
What's in time, as some would say.
Death started a few minutes ago. It's almost like there was a timer on screen.
Wonderful. I am here in time to see Secret win. I thought they were already 1-0.
It just gets to show that Italian cooking is literally unstoppable. He can't just stop even when Desk is starting. So here he is, finally. As the draft starting, Poppy getting taken away, Vi getting taken away. So Team Secret really looking forward to shoehorn the playstyle of the enemy jungler, who also used to play for them, by the way. There is a nice little shout out by them, as of course SE is taking away Artifact Talia, one of his stable picks to just be proficient in the laning phase and also impact the side lanes to great effect, and Nocturne also one of the champions that they found great success with.
Nocturne also. That's the requisite to play in Team Secret, that you must be able to play the Nocturne. And Penguin does. So good on T and SPTC to prove that, and B1, of course, one of the power picks in the Severe. The 80 carries there have been most popular. This also probably will, suggest that Zeri is still open, might be a pick for Eddie. We also, whatever is their 80 carry pick, it's a good removal from SPTC, given the Severe on their hands.
And I keep saying that Zeri isn't good into Silver, but it's just a thing for like the first few like 10 minutes of the game, where Silver just gets his free bot lane priority. It's not something that really matters for the later stage of the game, as Zeri gets locked in still, and it still scales brilliantly. As they also wound out the draft with another pick, which is the Renekton plush, and that's of course one of the blind picks that has been coming back into the game, being played in every league so far. And if you blind pick Renekton and just play towards your strong side bot lane in general, it is a fine pick to take. Renekton plush.
I do not agree with this recent VCS trend that Renekton is suddenly a very popular pick. I thought we were done with that some years ago, but yeah, we're still stuck with it. And we're stuck also with severe Azir compositions. They should be physically punished for picking this, because we are most likely in for a 50 minutes game.
That said, it is a very strong combination. Dia1 has a pretty good Azir. It does allow him to play safe against Artifact as well. Artifact is something Quincy has identified as a huge point of power, and I mean, just watch Team Secret play, and you'll identify it too. He's pretty cracked. We'll have to see if they want to pick up a counter pick here, not risk anything getting banned, or do they want to secure their support? I think those will be the two likely ones, or... Okay, Lee Sin.
They at least get to pick something, right? Because the timer was really running out on them, and this Nautilus pickup by the side of SPTC was just them daring to pick an Enchanter, as the Silver Nautilus lane would absolutely destroy a Zeri plus Yumi lane, or Zeri plus Lumu lane potentially, would be maybe Team Secret favoring themselves in giving away too much of the early game, as they lock in the Lee Sin to secure the early game a little bit further. With Renekton Lee Sin, that's definitely a strong point for them in these early skirmishes, and something that SPTC has to respect when they lock in their top side. With Rek'Sai being taken away, one of the stronger DNK picks, and also one of the Lee Sin counter picks in general, Penguin might be in for a good early game for himself already.
Certainly possible, as you said, that Rek'Sai being removed. DNK may have to go a little bit deep. That said, there are still some very strong junglers available. That Viego, of course, is available if he wants to take it. Maybe not amazing into the Lee Sin. Yumi being removed, I think Lulu should probably be the second ban from SE if you're going to get rid of the enchanters. Well, there's the Viego, that's gone. So now DNK may have to reach into the pool. Clockwork, so far, what are you thinking of Secret's draft?
Secret's draft seems to be oriented, especially with its upside, towards some very active early game, which is not usually their picks of choice. They usually aim for these like mid to late game skirmishes and team fights. That's where they shine the most. So I expect to see something different. Maybe they're experimenting a bit, because Team Secret loves to go distance, and they usually drop the game 1 or game 2 very frequently. This Akali also, it tells me that Secret really want to go for something wilder than their usual style.
And they picked the Akali when Artifact hasn't played it so far, and it's just a so risky pick in general. Not quite sure what to think of this one, in my personal opinion. Gotta say though, however, Azir's counter picks has been kind of taken away. You would usually just pick something like Ali or the Talia in this situation, and not being on the table means he has to go for something else. Would have preferred something a bit more out of the box if he picks a new champion, like maybe even Vel'Koz herself if it goes to my personal liking, or otherwise more standardly would be the Victor or the Corki to just match the scaling of tier 1 and pick a good mid lane on your own to secure your magic damage composition wise. However, SE on their side, answering with the Sejuani likely being that top lane situation, or top lane answer against the Renekton, to match this laning power Sejuani with a lot of kill pressure on her own, and with Gragas at the last pick, they might actually swap it around and just go for Gragas top lane. It's a soft counter against Renekton, scales next to him, doesn't die to it early on, and eventually will have great impact with these off-tanky builds that still deals a lot of damage but is beefily tanky, and is an insane disruption to any team fights.
It provides a lot of disengage, which is exactly what Sivir and the Azir want, to keep enemies at bay, to run away from this Alistar, from this Lee Sin, and provide damage from a distance. So I really like this last pick Gragas from Team Secret. Alistar, not really my favorite. I think Renata, I would have preferred that, since it can sort of provide some more tools even from a distance, especially her ultimate. Overall, I like Team Secret's composition because, as I said, it's a bit different from what they played usually, and it allows for more individual outplays. I don't think it's the ideal one against SPTC's comp.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind is that while SE are playing to secure playoffs, again, we want to keep reminding people if they win this series, they're in playoffs, there's no tie breaks. Team Secret are locked in separate. They can't overtake GARM, but they also can't be overtaken by SGB. It's as you said, Quincy, Artifact hasn't played the Akali, but maybe he wants it ready for playoffs.
Possibly, is that what I'm thinking? As I think overall, SE kind of won this draft quite handily, in my opinion. Get a good scaling matchup in the top lane that doesn't really lose. DR1 is not an experimental pick, and Artifact very much is. Also, Silver Nautilus is very great against this very early on. The Alistar kind of countering the Nautilus, but not by that much that I would then not favor the SE bot lane. So I think draft-wise, SE very clearly won here. But Team Secret, if they are like individually up to the task as they have played so far, the split and SE plays like the recent times, it's still Secret winning here.
And on to the Rift we go for our second series, one with many, many playoff implications, and I wouldn't have two better people to guide you through it than Echo and Rebel. Take it away.
All right, thank you so much. Let's get right into it. Series number 2 for the day. Rebel, things are already looking a whole lot different for this next game. A lot more volatility, I feel, coming through this time around.
It's explosiveness as much as possible from both of these teams. You know that. Beating them here and now would show at minimum that they have some chance at playoffs that warrants them being there, as opposed to losing this one and having to work their way through a qualifier where it'll feel like they are absolutely the 4th best team and nothing more over the course of the split. So this is their chance to really define that for themselves.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as we got to see it with that graphic as well, right? Even though they did end up, taking some of these L's to those higher ranked teams, still going 2-1, so clearly showing that, they've got what it takes to be in contention with those teams. They just need to find and feel like that last kind of final push to really secure the win. It feels like already a little bit of action on this top lane. I like to see it already, the aggression coming out here from both Hyro and Emperor.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so I don't know, has anyone introduced you to who Emperor is in the grand scheme of things in League of Legends?
They have not. I've just heard the Emperor, but that's about it.
Okay, yeah, his name is the Emperor for good reason. Currently, right now, the second place solo kills is 23 in all major Worlds qualifying regions. Emperor has 44 at the moment. Emperor is a beast in one-on-ones, which is why it's surprising that Hero's about to flex on him a little bit. Unfortunately, I unfortunately cast a curse him there for a moment because Hero is also pretty high on that list and has been a competitor in top lane. Both of these are relatively younger guys comparative to some of the other ones you consider. You think of like Kiaya and Hosmet as some of our longer-standing top laners. Hero and Emperor have stepped in much more recently and have really taken kind of the next step in being the next generation of top laners for good reason. As, again, this isn't an Emperor champion. We usually expect like the Akali or something very skill mechanical, and it speaks to the level that SE wants to play at today just because they have to. Part of it's like you want to put your best players in the best possible position, but if they believe in their team fighting, which is not something that's been a big play for them most of the split, then they're definitely boating a lot closer to that as Emperor's on this Gragas as opposed to something else.
Yeah, definitely. I will say Team Secret kind of feeling like a win lane, win game type of comp coming out right now. A lot of individual skill going to be coming on the table here. Hero looking for something here, but that turret is just a little too damning. Arctic Assault coming through. Actually was able to steal away the Crab as well, looking to steal away Penguin's life. The Flash comes through. This is looking like first blood. The Flash over Penguin. Can he escape? He's so incredibly close, but he's not quite gonna find a hero there with the save. He's being the hero, one might say, but Dia says, nah, you're done. Bye-bye. Just flashes over the wall, hits him with the soldier, the 1-2, and just jumps right back over the wall like it's nothing.
And a nice use of both the push in mid lane from the Azir to be able to kind of make his way up to top side and support that play from DNK, who knew he had the support from the Azir over top of the Akali to kick things off. Artifact not able to move, and it opens up DNK to make a much more aggressive play. Sejuani is not really low on single target damage to kick off a game. She has a lot of CC, but when you're able to get that big kind of frost proc on your passive, it makes it difficult. So even Penguin being in this situation, who burnt most of his cooldowns on the Scuttle Crab, which he lost, by the way, was the big kind of problem in this circumstance, that Penguin had basically burnt everything for no trade-off, almost going down to just the 1W, but ultimately I think ended up being a better trade. Unfortunately, the Flash has to get burnt by Dia1. Had that not been the case, this would have been a perfect situation, but Dia1 using that soldier, then being able to escape over the wall with the shift, is perfect, because that means your Azir gets the kill, you get a nice assist for DNK, you burn Penguin's Flash, all incredibly valuable things for this early game, where, like you said, Team Secret definitely does a lot better if their composition wins in the earlier stage of the game.
Yeah, definitely looking to relegate Penguin to just be the round kick bot. That's all they want him to be able to do, pretty much. Is in his ball and looking to try and find something here on Suho, but not going to find anything. And just overall, it definitely feels like Team Secret, right? They have a lot of tools to really get on top of whoever they want, right? They've got Artifact on the Sakali once she gets level 6 with that perfect execution. You've got Penguin, you've got Hero. But if you're incredibly behind, then you're not getting through the tank that is Enper, that is DNK, you know? It's like, things won't be looking too good for you.
No, it's easy enough that if Celebrity does well inside of a game like this, and you've got this big front line, even if you've got all these access tools to backline, that team fights can still go relatively awry. Eddie's going to have to step up big for the team if that ends up being like the 5-on-5 type battle, where it becomes Celebrity versus Eddie. And that's something that I think is a warranted matchup that SE should try to build upon in this series. It's not that Eddie plays necessarily the worst League of Legends, just that's a matchup I feel like they can put some faith into, given the way Celebrities played, or at least did in the earlier portions of the season as a team fighter. As level 6 got reached by Hero, he immediately popped the dominance to try to find aggression into Enper, but DNK, fortunately, is in the defense of this player, as Penguin's going to bounce over and find himself in the face of Sejuani.
Oh no, Penguin had no idea what was coming. So much damage coming out from DNK, and they're going to look to just shut him down. He's getting lower and lower, but he survives. But yet again, actually dashing in, grabbed himself a kill, going 1-for-1 here, and now DNK should be able to pick up this kill. That's actually looking pretty dicey. Nope, gonna have to instead just handshake it away and be like, you know what, good fight, good sir, good fight.
It doesn't have the passive really to work with, and so in a weird situation, DNK ends up finding yet another counter gang. I think Enper got a little too antsy right there and tried to make a kind of a bigger play than he needed to, because if you see, he's level 5, which is tough, and Hero's level 6, which means he's quite a bit stronger. They had the kill on Penguin, I think, without anything else. You can walk away probably right here and not really worry about it all that much, and this where Hero, he pops the ultimate away, trying to catch out the Lee Sin before the Lee Sin can make any sort of aggressive play to guarantee the 1-for-1 trade. But I feel like Enper could have slow played that just a little bit better, or focused on getting the level 6, maybe play a little bit more defensively instead of playing for the 1-for-1, played for the 0-for-0. But that's not really Enper's style. He doesn't like to do that. So willing to give that trick kill over to his jungler to make sure that, again, that kind of brick wall that you put in front of the rest of your composition is going to be well concreted in.
Yeah, definitely. Laying down the cement right now, waiting for it to harden. But regardless, still fighting a little bit at the moment. I gotta say, Artifact's life looking pretty rough. Regardless, though, I will say I'm impressed. Farm-wise, he's still keeping up pretty well, despite we've just been seeing every time we cut into that mid lane, right, that massive just range advantage that's coming out with Dia 1 soldiers, right, always pressuring him off the wave. But regardless, holding pretty well.
It's a situation where, like, Artifact is definitely the most consistent of mid laners inside of this league. Like, you could put him on most champions and he will have a good performance. He's not always going to have the most electrifying performance. I don't think he's the best Akali player we've got in the league, but he will definitely be serviceable. He'll hit those the CS marks, like you said. He's able to stay within striking distance of the Azir to kick off a game like this. And when the time comes, he's going to be somebody that can pressure the backline, somebody that's going to have to be paid attention to by Palette when it comes to protecting Celebrity Dia 1 in some of the later stage fights. Before the early game, just going to get kind of manhandled by the Azir. Not much else to really be said. Zhu Hao makes his kind of rudimentary pull up to the top lane, or into the mid lane. My apologies. Polite kind of matches just to make sure there's no additional aggression to come through, or at least that they would have some kind of bearing on what that play is going to look like. There's a lot of members actually converging on this Rift Herald on this mid lane. Palette!
Yeah, looking for something here. The Lightning Crush going down, and Palette is going to be the first one to fall. Actually gets chunked just a bit too much, and down he goes. And so ultimately they pick up that one kill to maybe pivot on up into this Rift Herald. Not to instead look to take some backs.
It's it's a situation where it feels like Dia 1 actually was lacking the ultimate, and that was such a big difference maker that if they've got the Emperor's Divide, maybe they are willing to take that fight, but it was only seconds off of cooldown before it was, unfortunately, Paulette that kind of bit the dust on the back of that hook. As like you said, the Rift Herald is aggressive against, they are so far in, I doubt that they can just leave this without anything else. They're going to try to get it. Now fighting
Try and go for the steal. It's looking pretty bad right now. Penguin gets taken down. I don't even know who secured the eye. We're going to have to look at that one later, as right now Hero needs to dash to get out of that one alive. A lot of poke coming out, though, right now from Eddie. Look at that. So much damage. And they're going to find themselves Emperor in the first here on the board. Looking to find Pallet next. He's running, but he's a little bit too big. He can't run fast enough. And down he goes.
At minimum, SE does win at least one kill and does get the Rift Herald, which are big kind of selections. Now underneath their top
but look
tower,
at this
they're
turret,
fighting for more.
dude. Oh my god. Zuhao is so damn tanky. He does not care. He tanks as much as he needs. Dia 1, how is this man alive? That is just... I don't know how this guy just did it, but that is just... Oh my god.
fractions of a health bar remaining here for a couple of members on the side of SE, who again kind of dodged so much worse of a situation that Team Secret could have potentially got them into. As again, they were able to find a kill. They committed so heavily to the bit of the bear or the Rift Herald coming through. The one positive is somehow they find a decent fight. Somehow they find a position where they can get Penguin and then they get out of dodge without losing all that much. Part of this is, again, Eddie isn't doing the most damage to start with. Not that Eddie isn't positioning properly. You know, Akali gets in, but again, not many items are really here quite yet to be able to punish a lot of the members on the side of SE on their way out of this circumstance. And so again, I think they take this trade all day. Yes, you lose a couple of kills. A couple of them go into this area, which is a little bit alarming. But fortunately, Celebrity was the one that picked up the kill, so you do match that. And the Rift Herald is a very valuable tool. It is in Emperor. He's fine moving as we get another fight.
Look at that zoom out again. Lower and lower. Emperor's Divide. Not even needed. They take him out. The lightning crash from Eddie once again. Doing a little bit of poke damage here and there. DNK running for his life. Is going to go down, though. And that's going to be 2 members down, actually. Going to the hands of Team Secret. Make that 3 if they can't run fast enough. Maybe even 4. Down goes Celebrity as well. And this time around, Pallet will be the only one left standing.
And striking way too far into the territory of Team Secret is SE, looking for something. They find 1 kill. They find Zuhao exclusively. That's a kill onto Paulette. And the play afterwards is just so disgustingly good. You have Eddie in perfect position to make sure that he can put damage over top of a wall in the Tri-Brush. You've got a perfect positioning for Artifact to come flanking. Yes, I think he dumped a mid-wave for it, but that's perfectly acceptable. Because again, look at this. You get 1. The Emperor's Divide pushes Penguin away from your ADC. Celebrity doesn't have or pop ultimate until very late into this fight, really, to try to dodge out on everything else. And it just means your damage dealers get so much easier focus. It's 1 member at a time that you're putting into any kind of significant force. As now, again, onto the map, just consistent fighting between these teams.
Pallet eating the dirt once again. Down he goes, finds himself in a terrible spot, and is taken out. He just... My man can't even leave Swan at this point. Like, it hurts. It hurts. But they are going to try and find them some artifact here. The Winter Assault not quite going to land. Neither will the Winter's Bite. And so Artifact actually going to go ahead and just hop back over that wall. We see the Rift Herald getting dropped. Artifact fighting for his life, fighting for the life of his turret. And they're going to try and make something happen here. The turret doing actually quite a bit of damage onto Emperor, but he will be able to get out of that one alive. Going to drop the keg as well, just to make sure that no one can follow up on him. Rift Herald will go down. Turret still stands, and so at the end of the day, I think Artifact's quite happy with that.
SE's been forcing a couple of situations. This was the play onto Lee Sin. The Dragon actually got confirmed by DNK, and then they go for the Penguin kill, which DNK will secure here. But it's Paulette who kind of wraps around and gets wrapped around on by Zuhao in the grand scheme of things. More members here on the setup from Team Secret, so they trade the 1 kill for the Dragon. I think SE is actually, once again, okay with that circumstance. The problem is any of the plays that they've really been kind of initiating, any of the plays that they need to go well, have just not been in the slightest. Everything they've been trying to force has not worked into Team Secret. The best plays they've taken are plays where they've been able to pull a neutral objective and then remove themselves from that situation, but that's not sufficient to really put yourselves in a good position and take control of the game back. Because right now, I mean, with the 2 carries, major carries on Team Secret, having the gold value that they do at this point, 2 kills on Akali, 3 kills on Eddie's Zeri, the prospect of team fighting is getting harder by the moment here from SE, when they should be the ones with that really, really easy type team fight if they were playing a much more controlled style.
Yeah, I also love how when they take that drag, DNK just goes like, "No, I'm out." Like, later, Pallet. Like, you're on your own, brother. I got things to attend to here in the jungle. You'll be okay, right? No, oh, that's 3 members. That's too bad. I'll be over here somewhere watching.
which is, I mean, fair enough. DNK's been playing this game really well, actually. He's got full kill participation. He's been all over the map. He's secured a couple of objectives. I think he's honestly the one thing that's keeping this game within striking distance for SE against Team Secret. It's been difficult as Penguin tries to slip in a quick little hit onto Dia1, but unfortunately that Tasty Lick is not going to go through, and Dia1's just going to be able to slide out with relative ease. As again, SE just wants to set up this Azir, set up this Sivir for success in the later stage of the game. If they get to that point, I think it'll be easier. I don't think the front line is particularly difficult to get through. Hero on the Renekton, the Lee Sin is not just completely unbreachable from this Azir Sivir combination. The problem is Eddie and Artifact being as strong as they are, it makes it difficult for those two to stand resolute against everybody else. As mid tower is going to fall, I was kind of hoping for a jump in right there to see if we could actually get a fight for the tower, but not going to be the case. We've had plenty of fighting already, so they're just going to calm down for a minute.
Yeah, it's nice to see that they, regardless, they've been seeing, well, okay, we'll have to wait on that point, is it's looking like Hero just going to go ahead. Actually not going to be able to get that turret, but too much damage coming out because of the damage he deals to Emperor. That turret is going to shoot at him, so close to being down, and we do see Penguin is there to go and help him shove this wave and take out this turret. But like I was saying, it's nice to see in that mid lane that they still kind of respect, right, the tanks that does come out from, DNK, from Palin. They realize that if it's not one of these kind of, close quarter skirmishes like we keep seeing these jungles where TS does always come out ahead, there's always still that opportunity that things won't work out as well for them. As Artifact says, screw that, I'm looking to just go in here. See the perfect execution getting dropped here, but there it is, right? So much CC getting dropped in, and now he can't do anything. Artifact, like, that's exactly what I'm saying, right? You got these tanky frontliners, all this CC, you gotta respect it.
And I honestly, it was kind of a filthy combination from Artifact to try to get onto Celebrity, but again, the bouncer just kind of kicked him away. It was Paulette and and DNK that did such a good job making sure that he was not going to get into the club anytime soon. It made sure that Celebrity was also going to be freed up to not only get the kill, but also the wave. He's going to be able to push the tower. They trade for the mid lane turret. Dia1 misses.
So close! That's unfortunate. Not quite going to find the Emperor's Divine Link he's looking for, but the Emperor's like, that's fine, dude, I got this. Yo! Okay, that was kind of smooth. Actually, DNK with the Witch's Assault right into Penguin as soon as he lands. That you love to see. That's some really nice plays coming through. Meanwhile, Celebrity doesn't quite have the damage to take out Huo, so ultimately he's going to be able to escape for now, but regardless. Maybe not. DNK, he's on the hunt right now. Dropping that sweepers. He knows he's in there. Witch's Assault going to get dropped. The hook. Oh, the flash to dodge it. And so the smite coming out. They want him so badly. Are they going to get it? There we go. They finally find him. Oh, the poor man. He ran the race of his life, but ultimately still goes down just outside of the turret.
Sure did. It's another. This time, SE actually gets away with a lot on the map. Not only did they get the bottom lane play because of Artifact, they lose mid tower to Rift Herald, but they do end up getting at least one kill back for all of the efforts in the mid lane. They end up chasing down a second one. They get Dragon. Again, in terms of gold, they've shrunk the lead to only about 1,000, and a large portion of this has actually gone into Renekton because Hero was split pushing the whole time and found the top inner tower. So the Renekton is an absolute beast, but the rest of the map caught up pretty significantly as a result of all the plays that just went through. The gold lead, it was at 1,000 just seconds ago. Now it's back up to about 1,500 for Team Secret. But still, the lead hasn't grown. It's got a little bit smaller from where it was seconds ago. And better yet, Celebrity has really been massively kind of infused with gold as of the last couple of minutes, is able to at least match the items. Doesn't quite have boots, but close enough to where Eddie's position is to be able to match in team fighting compared to what that champion is going to be able to accomplish, which is great. SE fighting back quite well. Their front line is doing great. And once again, DNK is just absolutely smashing this game on the Sejuani.
Yeah, definitely. We're kind of seeing why they keep, in these last couple of matches, always picking up that sort of 2-1, always finding themselves that avenue. So actually, we get to see that on Kali pick once again. Look at that. It's just CC after CC after CC after CC. Nothing that he could do. And Celebrity just gets those free hits and just does so much damage. As we see the setup coming here in this bot lane. Penguin, don't do it to him. Don't do it to him. The kick into the dominance. You can use that Emperor's Divide as much as you want, but you just got divided in half there from Hero's Blade as he goes down.
Yeah, and this Renekton has just been a menace to deal with over the last, like, basically week of play here inside of the VCS. We saw it start to pop up as of last week, but this week it's been really good. And some of our top laners are really big Renekton appreciators. Hero showing really solid, passages of play on this champion, not only crushing Emperor during the laning phase and absorbing some resource from Penguin, but the fact that he's side laning with it as well as he is, he's going to be able to be an absolute beast in the late game. That's going to be hard for Celebrity to get through fast enough. Like, Celebrity does good damage, but it's very over time damage. There's not a ton of burst to be able to rip through a large portion to the health bar of Renekton, and it gives him time to press Gore Drinker, to heal with like his Blade of the Rune King, get a massive Q, to be able to actually put himself in a position where he's back up to full health and can kind of drain tank at the front end of fights. Somebody to keep your eye on, because that's been, again, a lot of the gold that's been given away to the side of Team Secret has been given to the Renekton, and Hero so far has actually used it to pretty solid effect inside of this game. See when fighting comes around if that continues to be a trend, but I would really like to see Hero pop off on this Renekton because he deserves it after the way this game has gone.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with all these tools in his team's composition as well, really just allowing him to make full use of that kid, like just what we saw there, right? Penguin just jumps right in, gives Dia just the roundhouse kick of his life, and just puts him right on the dinner plate there for Hero, who can just absolutely just slam dunk on him. And Dia does have that crown, but regardless, I don't think it's going to be enough from the damage that's coming out from Hero.
2 minutes on Dragon. We have a little bit of time till Rift Herald pops up, and it's mid lane Prio that's grabbed up by SE just as quick. Baron actually is spawned, so I don't think second Rift Herald ended up getting taken at any point there. I could be wrong. I don't know if anybody's holding on to it at this moment, but I don't recall anybody taking second Rift Herald inside of this game, so that one just goes away. As now it is just Dragons really for the foreseeable future more than anything else. That's going to be really imperative to watch as these two teams compete, because that's also the one thing that SE has done well is they've been able to contest the Dragons and pull the first two off the board. That is stats that you're talking about that got a little bit better as of this patch, and it's also much easier soul access. It's Cloud Soul, which some people, too much discourse on Cloud Soul recently for my taste on Twitter. But it does have its value and it have its place as something that's going to be valuable for SE to be able to leverage either for scaling this game further by giving away individual Cloud Drakes to Team Secret and getting themselves more time to buy items and things, or by just going for that soul point themselves and saying with that move speed, it's going to be so much harder for Artifact, Hero, Penguin, all of these melee type champions to get on top of our Sivir. Allow Celebrity to really do his job as a damage dealer.
Yeah, Cloud Soul has its merits. Maybe not in my games, keep it far from my games, but in this game, I can definitely see Eddie foaming at the mouth just the thought of just the fully stacked Cloud Soul. Once he pops that lightning crash, we thought that the Sivir Yumi was going at Mach 5. This man is going to be zooming over the rift if he gets all of those under his belt.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% one of the fastest champions of the game. That's going to take him, if he gets to 4 Cloud Drakes especially, like the soul is going to go crazy. God. But I think both these ADCs dramatically want that. The only difference is Eddie is going to be super fast, but there are immediate lockdowns. Things like Nautilus Ultimate and even Sejuani Ultimate, if you tag it, is just going to lock Eddie and force the cleanse out. If he doesn't have that, he's going to have to burn Flash. And if you don't have either Summoner spell, honestly, Mercurial might not be the worst of options in a game like this. After you bring that in, you don't have to worry about just getting locked down immediately by at least Sejuani to kick things off.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been seeing that happen over and over, right? Just the amount of CC and lockdown that comes out from SC that they're able to output, as we saw done to poor Artifact being done incredibly dirty.
Sure thing. I don't know if your stream is loading, if that's just my problem right now.
No, mine is also. Yep, we did just lose. Actually, okay. Now we're gonna. That's perfect. Now we gotta speculate.
Now we speculate on things that are happening at the moment. So there's at least that to consider. But okay, what do you? I can't imagine this game ends up doing anything super crazy prior to big team fights. At least as my opinion, I don't see this going to a place where it ends up just being a bunch of picks or a bunch of really bad mistakes from either team. It feels like both of them are close enough that they understand that they need to kind of crimp down on mistakes, crimp down on pushing unnecessarily, and focus on team fighting instead a lot more than anything else. And so we're expecting these timers, these big objective timers, to really be the focus. Seems like Team Secret was just gifted over the Cloud Drake without much ramification. I don't see any additional deaths that have come through for this team, which means that SE gave it away. And I think that's the right call 100%. They absolutely need to do that in the future. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, it looks like Dia might have flashed and might have died at some point. I don't remember who actually was down.
Too gruesome to show, man. It got
Secret, yeah.
It got redacted. It got redacted.
Yeah,
it was too gruesome to show. We
The
couldn't show.
last
We couldn't
2
show it on
minutes of play
screen.
were redacted. True. Yeah, couldn't show it on screen. Yeah. Fair
Some
enough.
kind of shady business deal went down for that dragon. We couldn't show that one, and already we see the Grishal person getting dropped here onto Zhu Hao only, though. And so ultimately, it's not gonna really have too much effect, and that's a pretty big CC ability being dropped. And the cooldown isn't too long, so it's not gonna be too much. You can already see it's about a fourth of the way back up, but regardless, yeah, definitely something you want to have in your pocket. Is it might be pivoting to the Baron here. Okay,
Sure.
very
Yeah,
curious
this
if they look to
team-
start it up.
Teams got decent turn off of the Baron. They have decent peel away from the Baron because of the Gragas and the Sivir ultimate. And you've got great damage between Sivir and Azir to kind of rip it down. You have good damage on Team Secret, but again, the double marksman, especially with Rabadon's second item on Azir, if you have any attack speed or any additional AP, you're really going to be shredding that thing with multiple soldiers. And so that's something that's threatened as well, is that SE does have that potential. For the side of Team Secret, I think it's harder for them to just purely turn off the Baron. Instead, they have to have control of the pit and allow for maybe Penguin or specifically Artifact. I think even Zhu Hao would make a really good flanker in that position, where if you've got control of the Baron area, you can definitely find a way to find an engagement into the backline of SE, which is your best bet. They're just turning for that play, though. Their damage is good, but I don't think it's sufficient to burst down a Baron the way that they do on the other side. Penguin just takes a little bit of poke damage. They're going to ult him.
There it is. The ulti coming out, though. Not quite going to find the mark. Penguin with the flash to get away from that one. The TP getting dropped from Hero as well, who was just ready to get into the thick of things. But SC are like, nah, we're good. We're good. Be leaving.
And that's a decent takeaway, actually, because Hero's been side laning most of this game. You can see his farm is ridiculous. He's almost Flame Horizoned Emperor inside of this game. Just off the back of playing basically exclusively on his lonesome. He's level 16, which is 3 levels higher than even his own mid laner at this point. That's how separated he's been from everyone else in this game. He's on 3 completed items, far and away the most powerful and most loaded gold member of the game. And because he TP'd into topside, they are just going to commit for the Baron. They say, okay, we will either fight, or you're going to have to take a fight against us in the Baron pit, or you just have to yield this over to us, which might happen. So you can see Hero's in a decent position, Zhu Hao, but again, this isn't a team that wants to force Baron. They want to turn and fight, and that's what's going to happen. Artifact trying to get in the back line.
Yep, we see the Empress Vi coming out to stop him from doing that, but regardless, Artifact doesn't care. Looking to hop over that wall. Can he find it? It's a question, though. It's not looking too likely. Pallet with the knock with the stuns. Dio one going to drop himself that turret, but it takes a minute to get online. He's going to be able to escape from Artifact. Never mind. He's looking to run him down. 5-point strike is going to seal the deal, but the turret will take him out in return. And now the fight pivots down to the bot lane, and down it goes. And Purr as well. Celebrity was taken out mid-fight as well. And with that, TS only lose 1 member in comparison to the 3 that SE loses.
So much focus I was putting on to making sure that things were going to happen. Penguin is fighting up against DNK. Will Eddie ruin the 1v1 once again? We get
he is. That's a penalty.
Yeah.
20k gold influx for this man, please. First down. That's just, I mean, we can't have that happen here. Come on now. We got to keep these fights legit.
Absolutely, 100%. I've always agreed with it. Palette is bold for hooking Hero in, just making sure that the minion wave is going to stay outside the tower for the moment, and Hero's going to leave because there's objectives abound on the map to have to worry about. As DNK is poking around the Dragon Pit, that fight, I wonder if we get a replay of it. We do actually get a replay. So I was putting a lot of focus into Dia 1 versus Artifact, which ended up going the way of Dia 1 because of his turret that he put down right here, which was crazy. So on the other side, I'm looking at what happened with Celebrity, because Celebrity is the main damage dealer, and it's Zhu Hao who made the big play happen, as opposed to anybody else getting into the backline. We talk about how easy it is for some of these divers to get back there, that your big front line has to put focus into making sure that's going to be the case. But just one member getting peeled away because of Artifact's pressure onto Dia 1 meant that they didn't have somebody ready to protect Celebrity from that flash engagement from the Alistar. And that means Zhu Hao is the hero of that fight. Open space for Eddie to bring down the major damage dealer of SE. You have to be more careful. You have to make sure that doesn't happen in the future, as SE wants to stay competitive inside of this game. They're down 4K. They've given the last 2 dragons, I think, necessarily Because otherwise, I mean, you're just running the risk that Team Secret absolutely claps you and just takes over complete control of the game. But at this point, they're not so far down that it is impossible for them to come back in a game like this. Just trying to stay relevant in any way that they can, find picks where they can, and it's going to be enough to at least stave off the loss until the time comes.
Yeah, and I mean, we definitely see, as we kind of talked about, right, that just TS has so many tools to get into that backline, to get on top of Celebrity. If Artifact's busy, that's cool. We have Zuhao, we have Penguin, we have Hero. If one of them is busy, that's cool. We have, just in general, 4 members, almost the entire team, really, that has his dashes, who can just get where they want to go. And once they take out Celebrity, that's such a huge damage source being dropped down. And then with Dia 1, obviously, being a little busy with Artifact, looking to hunt him down, there's just nothing really that SE could do.
And in my opinion, the biggest difference that's really kind of showed up for Celebrity from the front half of the split to the back half of the split is that his teamfight positioning is here. They find Hero.
And this really bad positioning for Hero right now, because he does go down. The
out.
glacial position getting dropped as well to make sure that no one can call up to help. Penguin next up in the mug that have gone a little too far forward. No one there to back him up. Gold into the dirt though. Next up should be Artifact if he's not careful. He's zip-zapping and dashing around him though. Is it going to be enough is the question. Emperor with the flash to look to escape, but it's not going to find himself that. Instead, he goes down. Eddie will be taken up by DNK though, looking to turn this thing around. The Arctic assault has begun, and DNK is looking for something. Zuhao gonna try his damnedest, but it's not gonna be enough. He eats the dirt as well, and just like that, we sang TS's praises, but they lose themselves 4 members.
That time they can't generate a dive. They have no pressure to put into Celebrity, very little pressure to put into Dia 1, and they win in one at a time. That's not the way they've played any other fights this game. It is the first time we've seen them really stumble and fall, and it is only Artifact left to try to defend this, as he's going to have to put on a ridiculous amount of pressure. Teleport coming in, Lee Sin's a ways away. They're going to get the Baron. It's a question of whether Hero can stall them long enough to try to find anything other than just the Baron, as he has to slip out over the wall going through the blue buff. He is going to be able to escape, but that is the massive turnaround. That is the gold equalization from SE that they absolutely needed to be inside of this game. And again, look at the way that this fight plays out. It's perfect. They get Hero because, Emperor was looking for a flank from the opposite side. He was not expecting Groggins to be
Look
there.
at DNK's ult now, dude.
Also,
Boom.
what is Penguin doing here? He jumps in, but he kicks out Celebrity. Celebrity does take a good amount of damage. He almost kills him with the Q, but you're not gaining anything from this, and now you've lost 2 of your massive divers. Eddie's kind of pushed away from any of the major damage dealers to be able to put in any kind of work on a Dia 1, and then he jumps over the wall right into DNK, where he also gets caught out. It's such a weird situation where it was such individualistic play that we normally don't see from Team Secret, costing them so much to SE.
Yeah, Penguin, you're not that guy, brother. You're not that guy just yet. Going in, he's got his war cry ready. He's like, I'm killing everyone, and he just gets absolutely stomped into the curb. I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure they really just didn't see, especially that the glacial prison coming out from DNK, right? Stop 2 members in their tracks, and they have to watch in horror as it's like this is nothing they could do. Ultimately, though, SE coming on top with that one. They have the Baron buff as well, waiting for that minion wave, and now they get to start the assault on Team Secret's base. This mid tier 2 is not long for this world. Down it goes. The siege potential is so enormous, and Team Secret have to retreat to their own base, and things are looking dicey right now. Dia 1 dropping his own self-made, self-crafted turret there as well to make sure that Team Secret just cannot leave their base in this mid lane for a minute.
It's a strange circumstance because fighting in the open actually seems like a bad idea from SE to me, because it opens up all these angles. I know they've got wards, but it's just so much area that they have to worry about the access of Artifact coming from around the back, Penguin coming from somewhere else, Hero coming from somewhere else. They've been able to thankfully box out Artifact enough. DNK spotted him, was able to push him away with that turret behind them as well. It's a lot more difficult to find this perfect flank angle, and it's going to force a head-on fight, which I think is harder for TS to really find all of the ways that they want to access this team. As Hero once again getting pulled, that time not going to be executed basically immediately, and the safety of the tower is going to allow a retreat from SE, as they could also run back. Cloud Drake is going to be here in a second. They can also give it up if they don't want to, because they've taken their first gold lead of the game, burnt a good number of resources making sure this was going to go over to them, They only have about 20 seconds to make that decision. I think they are just leaving. I think that they don't really care all that much. With mid lane inhibitor down, they've gotten a good amount. They've gotten their gold back. They have the ability to fight when the time, when they get around the 4th dragon more than anything else. I don't think that they try to force around this Drake. I think that would be an exercise in futility where Team Secret gets to control basically all of the terrain ahead of time.
Yeah, we saw a hero going down to that ball lane, looking to make sure that they keep these waves in check, keep them pushed in, so that there's nothing that SE can do. With this drag up now, we do see TS are starting it off, but the members of SE are on their way, and now a fight is brewing. DNK and Pallet already seeing what's going down. Getting a little bit of lay of the land. Here's this drag. It's going to go down. They are going to give it on over. They don't, it feels like they just didn't really see an opportunity. They're like, you know what, you can have it. We'll be taking the game. You can have the drag. We'll take the game later on.
Yeah, like I said, they've been playing patiently. They took the first 2 dragons, and it's bought them so much additional time that normally you wouldn't have as this team because you would have been forced into a bad situation. But those dragons have given them enough time to find a fight that gets them back into the game. Now Team Secret want to find the side swipe into back
Getting
of this
collapsed
team.
on. No, this is exactly what we've been waiting for. Empress Divide is absolutely huge. So Omen Sam's coming through. Lightning Crack's gonna drop. Penguin's gonna be first one to drop. He's eating the dirt. Zoo next up on the list. And we see Eddie fall as well. The members of TS are slowly crumbling. Hero gonna try his best to make some kind of a hero place. He's running, but the Shurima soldiers, the 1-2, they're just too damn good. Dia 1 hits him with it. Your HP bar is Dia 0 and you're dead. And with that, once again, TS 4 members fall. Artifact is the only one left standing, and now we see possibly the final push into the base. Death timers incredibly long. Zuhao will be the first member up in 12 seconds, so Artifact needs to hold this line. They have a pretty big minion wave coming in. They don't have that Baron buff, obviously, but I don't think they even need Artifact. Looking to dance around him, gonna go buy himself as much time as possible. He's like, please spawn, I need some backup over here, and Zuhao is on his way over, but it might be too little too late. The second Nexus turret goes down as well. Nexus is exposed. They need to find the damage here, though. A lot of damage actually coming up from TS, though, but it doesn't even matter. The double kill. Dia 1, make that Dia 2 with the double kill, and Per grabbed himself a kill as well. A triple kill for Dia 1. And SC, baby, don't count them out yet. They grabbed themselves game number 1.
Sometime in the middle of that game, Dia 1 had to be telling his team, we scale. Just don't do anything. We scale. And it came down to a couple of really pivotal plays where those team fights were just based around the 2 damage dealers, based around being able to peel away divers from the threatening members on the side of SE, and they did it. And in that final fight, Dia 1 comes in so clutch with one of the best Azir walls I've seen of the year here inside of the VCS to kick out multiple members from his own self to ensure that he can continue using soldiers, continue putting out the DPS that he needs to as this massive carry for the team. Yes, Celebrity went down, but it didn't matter because the damage was already dealt by Dia 1 as they stay resilient. They were down 5,000 gold in the midst of that game. And against our number 2 seed walking into playoffs, SE holds their heads high and take the first game.
Yeah, and I mean, so far it's been, one might say it's been going to script so far, right? You know, they have been, when they do lose, it is 2-1. So, you know, it's not over till it's over. Obviously, they still need to get themselves one more win. But dare I say, this was one dominant showing, going up against one of the top teams in the league as well. And so, if SC can keep this up, their dreams are not only alive, they are flourishing. But I think we'll throw it to just a quick break real quick, and then we'll be back on the desk as we go to game 2. Don't go anywhere.
One more game is all it takes for SE to close the door on tiebreaks and secure the first playoffs berth in the organization's history. Will the SE circle finally break? Will we spin off into a new timeline? My name is Kareth. With me is Crincy and Clockwork. And Crincy, you're the number one Team Secret fan here. How are you feeling?
Very, very sweaty, of course, as Team Secret just now tried to just flex on SBTC to some extent, I would say, as going for the first time Akali all of a sudden and just trying to outmuscle whatever SBTC brings to the table. And it almost worked, right? In the mid game, they had a decisive lead. Eddie was very fed on the Zeri, but then they kind of just showed it out. One bad team fight, they get brutally outscaled, and SBTC, while they are on a slump, are still good enough to close out that game. So SBTC, gotta say, after that nice draft, rightfully won this first game.
Clockwork, you seem very angry.
It's like, I am the number one Team Secret fan, and I might also want to add that you all should also be Team Secret fan, because if Team Secret wins here, if Team SBTC wins here, we get no tiebreakers. Otherwise, with Secret victory, we get a gauntlet wonky fest between Wales, Cerberus, and SBTC. So, make your choice. You know who to cheer for.
Well, I'm sure chat can make their choice, but SE are the ones with something to play for here. As we outlined, one factor here is Team Secret is not playing for anything. They are coming second. That is just how it's going to be. It doesn't matter, even if the sun falls out of the sky, they are coming second in VCS Summer 2022. SE have it all to go for, though. And looking at that draft and the way they played in game one, Clockwork, do you think Team Secret knows they have nothing to play for?
It kind of spoke to me that they were just experimenting some different strategies compared to what they usually played during the split. It didn't quite work out. Actually, it looked okay with this huge Renekton during the mid game. It was a real menace for most of the game, but eventually they didn't quite manage to snowball. And when the clock hit, the actual clock hit, the Azir and the Sivir were scaling too much for Team Secret's composition to be relevant. So if they are serious about this series, they would go back to their style, but I expect them to experiment again, because let's be honest, Team Secret doesn't really care about the wonky gauntlet fest.
Crincy, I'm going to ask you to come at it from the perspective of SE here, even though I know where your loyalties lie. That draft, despite the fact that they won, I still am not 100% convinced by some of those picks. What do you want to see change as they do presumably move on to the other side of the map?
That might just sound weird, but I actually like seeing Hero on the Gragas. It's not really a
He
hero
played
style
well.
champion. I'm just saying Hero. I actually mean Emper. Yeah, Emper played really well, and that's something that looked good. I mean, he is a solo kill king, and the first few levels look pretty rough against the Renekton. All things considered, though, he lost the lane gracefully, is what I would say. So he looked definitely overall solid. And Dia won on the Azir, also kind of a style shift for him. It was almost like SPTC was playing the traditional stuff, and you would expect it from Team Secret, but Team Secret went for something that actually SPTC would rather like to play, and they kind of failed to execute on that. As of course, it wasn't just a draft diff. The draft diff was there, don't get me wrong, but it still looked rough in the mid game for them, and it was just an effort of the whole team to stay hill-proof. What I kind of didn't like was the Silver not working out against the Zeri as much as I would hope for, as Silver Nautilus is something that should smash this lane a little bit harder, and also banning away the Yuumi when they already had Silver Nautilus. I don't think Team Secret would have dared to try and pick it, as that bot would have been a very rough experience for them. So now, next game is on. They are switching over to the red side as they have to, and the cards are, of course, dished out in a new way, with Team Secret getting to change their draft style as well. But then, of course, regardless of blue or red side, you just first bank the Kalista.
Yes, into draft we go, as Crincy alluded to. It is going to be Talia being banned by SE, and the Kalista was already removed by Secret. Clockwork, as we see these bans roll through, what are you hoping for your boys in black and white?
Regardless of the bans, I hope that they have clear mind that they cannot allow SBTC to have both the Sivir and the Azir. And considering the Sivir is a power pick, I really want Secret to snatch it, B1 immediately as fast as possible, and put Eddie on it. Since also Eddie had a quite disappointing performance, and Team Secret would very much enjoy to put him on a safe lane scaler. Okay,
Very.
Team Secret needs Zeri is still valuable. But yeah, I want them to put Eddie on some safe AD carry to allow Penguin to, put all his attention onto Artifact, onto Hero, because that's the big pillars of the team.
You have to. Okay.
Are we getting
giving up? This is just Zeri Gumi, right?
It's just Zeri at least. I mean, Zeri Yumi might just be counterable still by now engaged support. I just say Nautilus, there could just be a Leona or any other engaged support plus a strong laning AD carry. But SE, maybe not even ready to pick the Zeri, which surprised me as Celebrity has a very deep champion pool of his own and also liked to play the Zeri in the past. So looks like Team Secret kind of calling the bluff of SBTC Esports with them getting the first pick Ari, and they will get the Zeri as well, as you don't, of course, pick 2 AD carries on the side of SBTC Esports. Failure is, of course, not a bad pick in general. I'm just surprised that they don't go for the takeaway, as Zeri, to me, is just a tad stronger.
They do get the Azir as well. Clockwork was alluding to how strong that was for Dia 1 in Game 1. But definitely an interesting start to this draft.
Right, and yes, Azir and Sivir is the usual late game scaling composition. Aphelios can very much fulfill the same role, so SPDC very smart in denying this option for the Team Secret. Now, with the Lucian pick, I expect some Nami and some very aggressive bot lane, which is opposite to my suggestion for the Eddie and Shuko duo. However, I'm not ever going to turn down a Nami.
To me, this just tells me that Team Secret just doesn't really care about the outcome of this game and just wants to experiment a little bit and just try to go again for the Lucian Nami to see if their bot lane can just still win games off the back of it, as Zeri just gets completely ignored by them. I think in a playoff game, which they will playoffs, it's mathematically proven by now, it's confirmed, they would definitely go for something like a Zeri here, I think, to really play the strongest champion of the meta right now. As Lucian Nami, of course, can still work. We have seen it in LCS playoffs yesterday, where it didn't quite work out, but it's still something that can work out if you are even or better than the enemy bot lane, and it's scaled still surprisingly well. But Aphelios and Nautilus can just win all in very early on against Lucian Nami. If that Nami gets hooked, she's pretty paper and dies quite instantly.
Well, yeah, if you hook a fish, you do expect to be able to win that fight. As Nocturne, Sejuani are being removed in this second ban phase, makes sense that the jungle pool is going to get hit pretty hard. But it's SE that will have first bite of the apple, so Team Secret and Penguin might be pushed pretty far down the tree.
And Penguin will have very, very fewer option, and especially considering his game 1, he was a bit suspicious. He, of course, provided a lot of advantages to Hero, but his gameplay itself wasn't really impressive, and putting him out of comfort might even get that worse. There's still this Pantheon pick that is still around, not exactly in Penguin style, but as Team Secret is trying to play the opposite of what they usually do, I can consider that as an option for them.
There's also still Viego on the table. I think we might just go back to the Viego style of champions. That's still a priority pick for both of these junglers, and other junglers are just taken away. Something that still could be considered is Pantheon, as Clockwork rightly pointed out. Or what I could maybe have as a hot tag here would be the Shinjao for the side of Team Secret, who have this absolutely brutal mid-jungle early duo going on to really break open the game before SE even gets to scale. But as they say that, they just get their early game insurance policy in picking up the Renekton plush.
I mean, there's also a Kindred angle here for Team Secret, I'm just saying. Maybe I'm just huffing some hopium, wanting my favorite champion to come up.
You don't blind pick it, though.
It's true.
Penguin does play the Kindred.
He does. Aatrox the hover at the moment. Looks like that'll get locked in. It's not a terrible matchup into the Renekton. We saw yesterday an Aatrox absolutely murdering a Renekton in one of the matchups, but let's see where they do want to go with this jungle to round it out for Team Secret.
We're exactly all waiting for that, and Team Secret also going for this again. Early game composition, Aatrox not the best scaler.
No, yes.
Brain C already smurfing once again. But yeah, this Team Secret composition absolutely wants to impact the early game as much as possible, especially bot lane, but that's the core of their draft.
And this Jarvan pickup might just be the correct option for the side of SBTC, as Jarvan is very good at diving bot lanes, and Lucian Army is one bot lane that tends to push up quite a lot and could just get absolutely destroyed by a Cataclysm gank coming out, or even just the level 3 gank coming out by a Jarvan. Or level 2 if they are pretty cheesy, to just go with the Dragon Strike and get with the Flash combined a guaranteed knock onto anyone and just destroy them. And even if they don't push up, you can do pretty decent dives with a Jarvan. So the bot lane from Team Secret really has to look out for that, as many junglers have been taken away. Team Secret, very early game focused draft. Just like in the first game, they can outmuscle it, but whether they are able to do so or just really care about this game remains to be seen.
And I'm looking over at SE and seeing an absolutely royalty-studded topside. The King, the Emperor, and the King, the Emperor, and the God Emperor up on the top side. I think this is an absolutely ridiculous draft that SE have picked up. Team Secret, they've got to really work hard to catch up, in my opinion.
I echo that, and I don't want to discredit his Cerberus, but these kind of drafts really reminds me of the good times when Cerberus had this stacked teamfight composition like last year. That is basically the Exodia comp for teamfighting. I think SBTC takes this.
I just have to hope that my general consensus of the VCS English still remains to be true, that better draft always loses. SBTC yet again with a better draft. So I think, and I of course genuinely, really from the bottom of my heart, hope that Secret takes this game and brings us to the reverse sweep.
We'll find out with Team Secret with this very experimental comp as we head over to our casters a little bit early, but I'm sure they'll manage. Echo and Rebel, take us away.
All right, thanks a lot. Let's get on to the riff for game number 2. Team Secret take another L on this one. Then playoffs gonna be in reach anymore, but they got some new tech going on this time around. Definitely catering towards the early game enjoyers among us.
Yeah, I would have to say that's definitely the case here, as Team Secret wants to make strikes happen before the team fighting really comes online, especially before DO1 comes online. It's also really incredible because I've been keeping track of the other regions that have been playing as this has gone on. And if anybody doesn't know, LCK went to 5 games. I don't want to spoil who won. And LPL is currently in game 5 right now, which is kind of insane. And so we get to see all of the best of the Western teams or the Eastern teams that we have to offer. I'm putting Team Secret and SE among those because they have a chance of going to playoffs, playing at Worlds, and I get to do that because this is our slander channel where we can say that every team from LCK, every team from LPL is just as good as VCS teams. Yeah, that's where I'll put them. That's what I'll say. I'll just leave it there.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Based. I like it.
Based.
We'll say though, for Team Secret, if they don't get things going in the early game, I'm going to be a little worried about them because just like in game number 1, SE can just say, hey, we scale, right? They can just say, hey, we scale.
We scale. Yeah, I am mildly upset about the fact that Paulette currently does not have Exhaust, because Exhaust against this combination of like the Lucian Nami, super good, especially when Lucian goes for this first strike rune. When you jump in and you have just all this additional true damage, you get all this gold. Exhaust ruins the gold you get on the rune. It drops the damage before it gets converted into that true damage strike that comes through. I know you got Glacial Augment, but you can kind of neuter and engage like an EWQ like combination with auto attacks from any, just by hitting your exhaust button, and it can completely change. All it takes is one all-in going poorly from the Lucian Nami to really make this lane into something that basically turns unplayable if the Aphelios ends up getting a kill, ends up getting a lot more pressure in the laning phase. And so I feel like Paulette will have to make sure that happens, unless they're anticipating, like our desk was alluding to, the dives coming in, DNK really forcing. And you can see DNK is already passed very quickly to the bottom side of the map, is almost at the blue buff, is taking, I think, Gromp and blue at the same time or close to it. At minimum is going to have the Gromp ready to go, and then he's just going to shift immediately into bottom lane, as Penguin wants the same thing, but against DO1 in the mid.
Yep, not quite.
Not gonna happen.
Gonna be able to find DO1 not stepping up far enough as he was hoping, and so ultimately he's just gonna have to go ahead and just poke his head up, say what's going on, and then leave again as DNK also making his way down to the spot line, as you mentioned before, but nothing really there to do just yet. And with the knowledge, obviously, that Penguin is somewhere in his bot side jungle, it's gonna opt instead just stand guard for now. Have that ward down so they know that he's not on his Raptors at the moment. They know he's on the red, so he's gonna opt to go for that crab instead.
The one problem is DNK did get spotted on a ward that had just only expired in the river seconds ago. And they knew that DNK had taken all 20 CS outside of Krugs. He just like took the normal 5 camp clear into bottom side. And so they knew exactly where DNK was going to be. It's like he either crosses through mid lane and he goes for top side grab, or he just goes for bot side grab, which is exactly what happens. As the push in mid lane might yield DNK. I mean, with Artifact having to leave and then coming back with TP, it buys space for DNK to go cross map and go double scuttle in this particular case, as now Penguin is left without any really significant forcing move on the map. Celebrity and Palette, their wave is pushing against them, but he would have to sit around here probably at least another wave, so another 30 seconds before a gank could really be feasible, and that's assuming you can get on top of these two. So Penguin, he's on the Xin Zhao. He's with this team that's supposed to be able to help set up plays in the early game, but that right there does not bode well for his future. In fact, he's going to wrap back up. He's going to take his Raptor camp, and he's probably going to wait for the Wolf respawn. That, or he's just going to loop right back up the top side as Dia1 once again. He's charmed this time.
Does land. Huge flash as well, but the wind becomes lightning. But once again, IO1, he's known for just escaping with these slivers of health, and does it, but yet again.
Penguin trying to make the most of a bad situation because DNK has just been clearing a lot better. There's actually reinforcements coming from
multiple It's about to get a whole lot worse. DNK and Emperor both there. The Flag and Drag is going to connect onto Penguin. They're not going to find that charm, and Penguin should eat the dirt. Down he goes. First blood going to the hands of DNK.
And that's the punishment coming through DNK. Not only that, but the movement also from Enfer coming out of what seems like nowhere, but able to make that happen is Dia1. He stayed for longer than he needed to. Artifact teleporting back kind of kept him locked in this lane longer than he wanted to. It gave this angle for Penguin to try to come in and gank. The miraculous escape and the move down the river gets first blood for the Jarvan. I was kind of hoping it would go into Dia1 because it was really close to this like soldier shift. Just barely missed Penguin. It was good on him to try to E out of the way to make sure Dia couldn't pull that last bit of damage. How went down off camera.
Oh my god, no.
Okay, Lucian Nami is a scaling pick, I guarantee it. Like, there's no way that this champion... This is not an early game combination. They just always lose. I don't understand it.
Oh my god, wow. Eats the dirt, doesn't even opt to go for the second kill. No. That's rough. You got Team Secret with this very early influential team. 0-2 at the moment, down around 1k gold. Not looking too good. Not gonna lie.
No, not at all. A Celebrity not even burning heal in that exchange. Like, this is an Aphelios. Like, you should not be losing, or you should not be winning the early trades against the Lucian Nami. It's the combination of Palette getting the hook, the Glacial Augment making it difficult to put out damage. I don't know. It's just, it never seems to work out here in the VCS, and a lot of other places have the same problem where this Lucian Nami just feels like such a bait combination as Palette is left to his own devices here. Penguin had the W. He could have used that E to reactivate, maybe over the wall, but decides not to. Doesn't want to wander into invisible territory for him. Doesn't have any wards, so instead, just going to walk away.
Him on top lane. Hero Depth to pop that World Ender just to be safe. Emperor spooking him a little bit. Has to go ahead and hit that back, and Emperor just going to shove this whole wave in. Most likely look to back himself. Drag is up at the moment. DNK. Path his way down to this ball and does get spotted out by that control wither, unfortunately. So that's going to give that info as to where he is. Going to dash back over the wall, continue to farm. I'm curious if we're going to see a bit of a scuffle for this dragon in the next couple of minutes.
I do wonder that too. Both teams are playing a lot more cautiously. It's just been a continuing thing where no longer can you kind of just take dragon on spawn. You have to be a little bit more cautious about when you're snagging the dragon because it's more dangerous to take. It does more damage to you. It takes a little longer to take as well. And because of that, it means that it's super easy to, you can jump off a wave, you can try to grab it like you did before. But if you do that, it's a lot simpler to try to punish you for that in a team fight setting. And so if Celebrity and Palette were to jump off and go to Dragon alongside DNK and they take a little too much damage, once again, Eddie and Zuhao should have the power to punish them if Penguin shows up, if Artifact shows up, and potentially lose a team fight the way that Rift Herald sometimes goes. So I'm expecting Rift Herald to actually be the first move before anything else. As he should have enough power. They've got Renekton, like Emperor's feeling fine inside of this game. The Azir's feeling good about where they're at inside of this game as well. You pair that with this Jarvan, which hits level 6, and you've got a very, very solid combination of champions for team fighting as you've got a good amount of AoE damage to work with inside of this one. So you can see them posturing. The Rift Scuttler does throw a little bit of a wrench into things, but it's only going to be around a little bit longer as a Okay.
Hook goes long. Culling does get dropped from Eddie. Meanwhile, not quite going to find the kill on the Celebrity, though, is going to go over the wall. And instead, Paulette is going to be the sacrifice once again. Tanking quite a bit, actually. Still buying a lot of time. As Dio1, meanwhile, was looking to run down Artifact. Celebrity needs to be careful here.
Uh-oh.
Please don't let the sacrifice be in vain. But Penguin going to instead opt to murder the blue buff.
I have absolutely no clue what the plan was on that. Because again, you're trying to set up around top side, so you know you're playing weak side bottom lane. Like, you have no resource to work with. And you're still a Philios Nautilus. Like, you're not usually winning fights. That kill was a little bit of an anomaly. And so the fact that they kind of, like, they throw a hook randomly out of the brush, they're trying to fish for the Nami, and then they get jumped on by multiple members, was just a tad confusing to me. It does open up top side. I mean, the setup was definitely there. I mean, ultimately, the job is done where there was no response. The 2 turret plates are just the one response you get in exchange for the Rift Herald, which it's not necessarily a positive play. But again, it felt like Paulette and Celebrity didn't need to force down there at all to do what their team needed them to do. They could have just continued farming underneath the tower or farming underneath their base, and they would have been perfectly fine. They had more than enough space to work with. Instead, they grant a kill over to Eddie to get him back into the game pretty much unnecessarily compared to what you needed to.
Yeah, but this is the flash coming up from Penguin there to dodge away from Nile1, who ended up pulling up his DNK with that Rift Herald. Moving his way on down bot side here. No one there at the moment, so looking to just drop it. Maybe siege on his turret. If they could take this thing out, that would be pretty early on. Doubtful, but regardless, are going to attempt to at least just get a lot of that gold influx coming through. You can see Paulette already just standing off to the side, wants to make sure that that gold isn't split 3 ways, and that is going to be a whole lot of gold going into their pockets there.
Yeah, Celebrity had red-white, and so when you pop the Onslaught from Severum, you get a bunch of Crescendum to work with, all the Chakrams on the white gun, which gives you attack scale.
They're going to get 300 gold to work with as well if they can find this kill. They get the knock-up down, goes Eddie, and it's just nothing that he can do. Penguin, he's like, sorry, bro, I gotta get this rep up, bro. We knew it was coming. Like, there's nothing we can do there. This turret getting lower and lower. Maybe they look for something as well, trying to take it out. So much coming out from those Chakrams right now. Down that turret goes. 10 minutes in, the first turret gets dropped.
It's again that both bot lanes feel like they're making boneheaded mistakes. Somehow Zunhao got hooked and died early on right there. The hook out of the brush randomly from Paulette when they're playing on weak side with no vision of the jungler. Artifact!
No, how do you miss that? That's so unfortunate.
Oh.
That's rough, buddy. That's a rough buddy moment right there.
Yes.
Dio1 dashes again. He dashes away once again, dude. This guy will not die. He refuses.
No, he just won't. And that'd be pixels off as well. And this is the step up. Like, they didn't see where anybody else was on the wave. It's just so easy for DNK to jump in with the EQ. The fact that the ultimate didn't land onto Eddie, that probably would have executed him alone and been a little bit faster, but it just doesn't matter as DNK has the damage for it anyway. Is it's shocking the fact that everybody on TS just hasn't been able to find the same level of play that they've been playing at for a very long time. Maybe getting rattled by GAM. Maybe they don't care about this game because it doesn't impact their standings all that much. But SE came to play today. You can see that quite evidently inside of this series so far. And if TS doesn't step up their game, it feels like they are just going to lose, and that means SE is going to walk away with the playoff spot. We thought that there was going to be this big tiebreaker. Only yesterday was it that we thought there could be a 4-way tiebreaker for our last 2 playoff spots, and we were going to be in this massive semi-tournament where we were going to be playing through the VCS, but unfortunately, seems like it's not even going to be the case. We're just going to get the simplest solution of SE walking away with a win over Team Secret and taking that spot away unless Team Secret has something to say about it. So far, they haven't.
Yeah, listen, the best solution to a problem is usually the easiest one. And SC says, you know what? That's us winning. We need some more clockwork, copium right now if we want Team Secret to get this thing, get the ball rolling. A lot of teams are kind of hoping as well that TS finds something here as DNK not going to find the kill there onto Artifact. Just barely able to get out of the Cataclysm there. But yeah, regardless, like we were saying, a lot of teams are riding on the fact right now that TS needs to win.
They are. It's not that it's pretty important. TS winning would give us a lot better of a late game. It would be unfortunate as well because Cerberus' level of play, I feel like, has gone up pretty significantly. They were experimenting with their roster for a lot of the split. They were trying to figure out what they wanted to do as a team for a lot of the split. I felt like they weren't really meta adept for a good amount of the split as well, and it lost them so many series that it felt like if they were playing on the level that they were, in the last 2 weeks, last 3 weeks, they probably would have been better off than, SE was at this point, especially given just how topsy-turvy that SE has been over the course of the split. But we don't track just what somebody does in the last 2 weeks of games. We track an entire split for a reason. It's because SE came off to that electrifying start. They showed us what they could do. They're showing us once again just how talented that they can be on both an individual level and also their team coordination, working a little bit better today. As they're taking it to Team Secret. Again, whether this is Team Secret's hardest effort, that is yet to be seen, but it feels like this is just SE taking a win that they absolutely need.
Yeah, definitely. So, a lot of pivots into mid lane. Drag is it's still up. It's been up for quite some time.
Yeah.
No one opting to go for it yet. I have a feeling that the second Rift Herald is going to get taken before we even see that first drag get taken.
I mean, it's really weird. I actually think this is super good for SE because they're the ones with the Azir. They're the ones with like the Aphelios waiting to scale, waiting to become like just great late game champions. And so if your first dragon isn't taken off the board by this Team Secret team, then like how long is it going to be until Soul is contested against? You're just giving them more and more time that there's nothing that SE has to do on the map, right? Like if they don't take Dragon, if they don't start that timer up, then like right now, if you were to take every Dragon at the timer that it's at, it would be 35 minutes into the game. At that point, Aphelios is fed. At that point, Azir is fed. You've got your late game damage. Team Secret has to find better. Maybe that's the idea. Team Secret doesn't bother with the Dragon because they don't want to waste their time. They don't want to waste the space they have in the game going after something that they don't think is going to be fruitful. Instead, they just want to fish for some gold value, fish for like Rift Herald and things that are going to net them some better mid game because that's where they're going to win this one. They don't want to worry about taking the late game challenge. If that's their intention, I think it's smart, but also they've done nothing, so I don't know.
Yeah, if they're gonna fish for it, they're gonna need some better bait because so far it hasn't quite been working out for them at the moment. Now you can see once again SE are already pivoting over to this Herald here, taking a look see, but with that little crab there is it's gonna throw a bit of a wrench in the gear this time around for them as they can't take it out quietly. So instead, opted to just chill in this mid lane, see the TP coming out to this mid lane, and now maybe they look for something here. Maybe they look to find some kind of fight because we're still waiting to see TS kind of shine, right? Their time is slowly but surely dwindling away, right? You pick this early game comp, you want to have this pressure, and now they're going to look to find something here. Actually, in this jungle hero did get caught out with the world under healing so incredibly much, is keeping him alive for quite some time, and the flash over the wall is going to allow him to live that much longer, buying his team some time. So now Team Secret should be able to take this Herald.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that's been out there that hasn't seen like this tech on Aatrox, but Aatrox currently builds a lot more Eclipse, and you go for some more like lethality type early damage. Gore Drinker isn't as good as it was once, and if you want to go for hyper healing like Drain Tank style, you go Sunderer, and Sunderer is disgusting. You pop ultimate and you hit somebody with Sunderer, and you just get 400 health back. Like per auto attack. It's absurd just how much this champion can do. I don't know where it was popularized. I don't see it all that often inside of pro leagues, but I do see it a couple of times where we cast an amateur, and we saw it specifically with Sniper that did it. And I swear he could 1v5 on the champion. Like Sniper's done it so many times, and he has absolutely ripped through teams on it. It's disgusting.
The scariest part was that, like, that was literally right after the whole healing reduction and all just come through, right? Durability. We're like, oh, surely he won't heal so much, right? And then it's just like he's popping like 400 heals here. And I'm like, excuse me, what?
Yeah, this is nerfed. This is what the nerf.
This is nerfed. What was it before this?
I don't even want to know what it was before this. Yeah. So I think against the Aatrox or against the Renekton, when you're constantly just like auto battle trading against him and you're using your E and your abilities, it's just so much healing. And so Hero really is under no threat. His side laning, once again, is pretty much unrespondable by Emperor. So that is one thing they do have to work on. One thing they do have to build on is Hero has just been really, really great side laning inside of this game. The Renekton in game one, this time the Aatrox has been something to build on. And Team Secret actually getting a little more momentum. They got the second Rift Herald. They're going to find that as actually Artifact is getting picked right now.
Yeah, looking pretty dirty indeed. Not looking good for him right now. Needs to back off. That mid tier 1 almost down. The Emperor's Divide coming through. They'll find a lot of damage. Eddie needs to be incredibly careful, though. Has to cleanse to get away from that one. And so Penguins instead is going to opt to take the damage down. He goes. The hook lands, actually, though, onto Hero. He can't heal his way out of that CC. Down he goes. We scale, boys. We scale. That's the name of the game.
and just find a fight. They're going to advance their position by about 1,000 gold. They're going to be able to probably knock down mid tower as well. They get gold in the right places as well. I think Celebrity picked up a kill. Deal 1 picked up 2 during the course of that fight. It's just... it's so evident how easy it is for Celebrity to just kind of, or for this member, this SE team, to just dance around fights to the best of their abilities. It feels like Artifact has a lot to say about it. Like, you've got some potential for Hero to be a bit of a menace inside of team fights as well, but Artifact getting picked that quickly inside of a fight on this flank angle was just so massive. And what a call from Colette, just insta flashes the wall, the Gravitum coming through from Celebrity to lock down Artifact a little longer, and just using all those tools. It means that one of your major damage threats is gone. Eddie also popped the ultimate in the middle and stays for the control ward. What are we doing, Team
Gotta get that
Secret?
money, bro. Gotta get that money. Gotta get
Oh
his
my
bag up.
goodness.
I respect. I don't really respect. I don't know why he stayed, and he paid the price for it. He tried cleanse. He tried getting out, and he's like the only man left standing because of it. But like, was it worth it? Was that 30 gold worth it?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool to see like the E Gale Force Flash Pog slide out of the Lucian, which was neat. But usually you want to see him do that into teams and not away from teams, because otherwise you're just not using the aggressive Lucian pick enough. And again, his positioning to take that ward was just so questionable in general, because they knew where DL1 was, and they knew that DNK was above them, so they knew the possibility of a collapse was around, and yet they took it anyway. Again, it feels like these are mistakes. The Team Secret, again, maybe it's lulls of just being in like, you're in second place, you can't do worse, you can't do better, so who really cares how well this game goes? Maybe you're not that concerned about it. SE has a lot more to play for in this circumstance. I don't want to attribute it to something like that, because Team Secret just ambiently should be playing better than they are right now. But again, without stakes, maybe they've taken their monitors down, a couple of frames per second or something like that, I guess, so to speak, just because they don't need to worry about it as much. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, definitely that 60 hertz monitor. You can't play with that. It's just unplayable. It kind of feels like Team Secret, like they're about to drop a tweet like, guys, our donations are open for all the teams that want to go to playoffs. Like, if you want us to try a little harder, maybe just some money our way, and we'll get back up to speed.
Yeah, nobody else did. Yeah, unfortunately, the biggest contribution came from Team Secret, but from SE, I guess. Super Big Time Chickens playing incredibly well. Actually, really nice hook on the
tidal
Wow.
wave though, and a lot of damage coming through. Is he gonna find the kill? Yes, he will indeed. The culling gonna drop though as well, but it doesn't even matter. Not quite gonna get the kill. There we go. They will finally find it though. Meanwhile, the Celebrity picks up that kill onto Penguin. So not all is lost. They will go 2 for 1 at the end of the day, with Emperor falling to the culling.
Not that many angles that they're fighting with on Team Secret. Given the fact that they've got you've got Ari, you've got Aatrox, you've even got Lucian. It feels like they're fighting very one-dimensional path. Like they're fighting in a straight line most of the time, and that's just not how I imagine this composition having played out. It's definitely easier and superior team fighting coming out from SE, but even the ways that Team Secret should be doing better, they aren't, which is concerning to me at least a little bit. Zuhao did have a very nice wave, was able to kind of use it before the hook came through to deny this, but I love DNK just kind of pushing out Penguin, forcing him to kind of E into the team as a half-hearted escape route. Not to mention, I think that Gravitum might do enough damage to just outright win the mid inner tower if it does tag, but thankfully Artifact slipping away from that means that you're able to get away and keep multiple members alive, as this has been huge from the side of SE. Just now setting up, DNK does have to EQ out, but Team Secret does feel a little dead in the water at this point. They're gasping for air. They don't have a ton of damage on any given member. They haven't been team fighting particularly well. This is a little bit more of a rollover series than I thought it was going to be walking into our last series of the regular split here in the VCS.
Yeah, I was promised a close match here so far. It's looking pretty SE favored, and if things weren't looking bad enough, I just want to direct your attention to Dial 1. Second item has that Rabadon's, and Artifact is dead. Gets caught out.
Yep.
Hate to see it. Not much really to report there. Ran into a 3-man, paid the price, down it goes, and Dragon is taken. That's something that we don't see as much. That's nice to see. Dragon gets taken over by Hero, and now in this mid lane, there's a bit of a staring contest here. SET is both looking at each other, looking for that first move. I don't believe the tidal wave is available at the moment, so if they can find some kind of angle, maybe they look to utilize it, but are going to go ahead and opt to back off. It says Celebrity and DNK going to be applying some pressure here in this top lane. Look at it. Wow, he's just shredding that turret. That does not stand a chance. Rest in peace, that turret.
Yeah, once again, it's the red-white combination from
Red, white, don't
Celebrity's gun
fight.
usage. Yeah, red-white, don't fight, or I guess time to fight, I guess if you're the Aphelios. In this case, using it for the advanced attack speed alongside the Jarvan. This was the pick. I mean, it's like they watched him come in on the ward that was just over the wall, and after that, I mean, he just threw a blind hook. Paulette has been kind of a thorn in the side of Team Secret all day, or at least for this series specifically. Game 1 was a little silent and made some questionable calls, but the Nautilus in this game has literally just been like, oh, you're out of position, you're hooked, you die. Like, that's all that it's been, which is props to Paulette for being able to find that. And once again, I think I've said this previously, but Celebrity and Paulette had a much better split. Like, it's been a while since Paulette has really been on our radar as being a support that's done some really incredible things. He's actually been on teams where he's been relegated and kind of pushed out by a substitute support for one reason or another. But it feels like this split, the two of them have stepped back up into kind of primary carry roles for this team, for this SE team. Their lack of existence, or their kind of quietness in the last couple weeks, has definitely showed itself for the reason why SE has fallen off a cliff pretty decently. The two of them have been struggling a bit more, but it's nice to see a game where they're kind of showing up where they need to. And coming into playoffs, they're two members that really do have to be leaned on. They and Dia1 especially. Like we expect a lot of Enper, but every member of this team has the capability of carrying games and showing it right now. Enper has not had the greatest showing, but they still win.
Yeah, Pallet went out with the boys fishing, cast at the line, but it was a little too far. Gonna need some better bait, because he was the bait at the end of the day. Down he goes. No fish for him to post on his Tinder with that one, unfortunately. Will pay the price, and with him down, looks like Team Secret maybe going to go ahead and opt to actually not going to go for this Baron. Gotta still respect the lead that SE has.
Yeah, 6k, all the ultimates available for every single member that is around on the map. Paulette is not the most important member. He's got the one ultimate that I think is the most useful for just locking down individual targets and ruining this kind of straight line comp that they've been running most of the time on Team Secret. Ultimately, though, just bouncing. They'll take their kill. They'll walk away. They'll just get a little bit of gold. Team Secret usually knows how to not make mistakes, and that was a pretty Team Secret call to not go for the Baron and Force in a 5v4 situation, even though they know they have numbers. They know the team fight doesn't necessarily go their way. Okay.
Taking their time here. Not sure if they want to opt for this Baron instead. Just a bit of a staring match. A lot of vision down, so both teams know what's going on. Probably want to wait. Yeah, take out that is Azir turret first. That way they can kind of open up the map themselves a little bit more. But SE has opted to start that Baron, and they're shredding it fast. So if Team Secret wants to make anything happen now, by the time it's at 2k, it's at 1k, it's down, and it goes into the hands of SE. Artifact trying to get that steal, and not quite gonna find anything there. So with that, the siege potential from Celebrity, I mean, it was huge before. It's enormous now.
They just know. It feels like this crescendum has just been so gorgeous for Celebrity, ripping through towers, ripping through neutral objectives. Anytime he wants to use, anytime he just wants to pump DPS into something, it feels like they've got more than enough on the side of SE, because this crescendum is always available. They're playing around that gun cooldown so effectively. And what are you supposed to do? I mean, I think Aphelios alone did half of that Baron's health bar in only about 10 seconds, which is just absurd given that he's only on 3 items. To have that kind of damage, to be able to put that out so quickly that no response can come through from Team Secret, as SE, now adorned in the purple buff, able to siege down some of these towers. Side laning, I think, comes a little bit easier as well for Enper, where previously Hero was kind of commanding that matchup. Now the Renekton has at least a little bit of agency to work with.
Yeah, nothing that Team Secret can do there. Tier 2 gonna go ahead and get dropped. And so SE gonna look to shift their attention down to this bot lane. Want to take out that bot tier 2 as well. And Emperor already prepping that wave up for him, serving on a silver platter, and there shouldn't be too much that Team Secret can do. The TP getting dropped out as well here. So now they're really looking to set things up here. Down goes this turret. The culling getting dropped. Everything they've got to try and hold them back, but it's just not enough. Turret goes down. A couple of cooldowns are out as well. And so now the world is SE's oyster right now, and they can just do whatever the hell they want.
Now closing out a game like this is, again, to me, it'll show another avenue. They've had struggles with it previously because they aren't the greatest of team fighting teams to close out a game. They usually find a way to, especially in the first half of the split, they found ways to close out games, but this is a reason why they've lost some games that they definitely should not have in certain circumstances against certain teams is because, again, if they're not up a dramatic amount of gold and they don't have a team fighting composition, oftentimes they find themselves in struggle spots. Now here they have a team fighting composition. They've got so much of a lead. There's not really much range to Team Secret's composition, so it should be relatively easy to close out a game like this, right? Worst case scenario, you can wait for Dragons, but I feel like that's just too long of a time to have to wait for a team like this. Team Secret could really drag their feet and just say, okay, SE, you're gonna have to take this one to Ocean Soul. You have to take this to maybe first Elder Drake, third Baron, something like that. But I would like to see SE with a little bit more viciousness kind of come out with some aggression to say we want to clamp this game faster than that. They don't want to just take a win that TS is going to give them by saying, okay, you can just scale up and beat us eventually. They just like, how do you actually beat them now? Nice hook.
Yeah, nice hook coming up from Pallet there, but they're not going to let him off the hook easily. But Hero, it's just nothing he can do. So much DC comes through, tries to get on top of Celebrity, but just can't find it. Down he goes. They're gonna look to just push this bot lane once again. You see the triple backs coming out. All of Team Secret knows that they need to get back to the base and defend right now if they don't want to have what Cerberus has been doing today happen to them.
It's Emperor actually makes a pretty decent move. They were really attracted to that play on top side of DNK.
Damage coming out. Tidal Wave getting dropped. Nice. DNK, though, just barely escaping that one alive. The Crescent Grab getting dropped here from Penguin, but it's not enough. Down he goes. Emperor to the backline, looking to find something. They're just going to take out this turret instead, though. Keep the offensive going. Going to look to get this inhibitor as well. Down it goes. And they're just going to back off. Thanks for the free inhib. Thanks for the free gold, baby. We scale. We scale.
At this point, I think they have scaled. I don't think they are scaling anymore. I think they're...
We keep scaling. We keep scaling.
We keep scaling. They're insanely strong as it is. They nearly get 2 towers just off the minion push that Emperor had set up on the top side of the map as well. And while it was looking like a decent fight to start off with, as Team Secret landed a couple of big, kind of big ticket ultimates to start that fight off, SE's just got so much gold, it doesn't matter. If you don't put that damage into Aphelios, into Azir, it's a waste. It ends up just not being all that much. You can't bring down the Jarvan that quickly. And now with Guardian Angel, like it's such a chalked situation to be in right now from Team Secret. How are you supposed to bring down either of the frontliners with Guardian Angels? The only person you can really kill off is going to be Palette, and as soon as his Zonies is done, that's even going to be a really difficult task. And then all of this time that they are spending on the frontline, all this time that you are not killing the frontliners, is time that Aphelios and the time that Azir have to really just pump damage into all the members of your team. And not a lot of members have built particularly tanky. Some of them a little bit more sustainable, a little bit more bruisery, but that's about all you can say.
Yeah, kind of rough spot when you pretty much have to kill 6 members of a team rather than, or rather than just 5. Not in the best position at the moment. Regardless, Team Secret need to find some kind of opportunity to get back in this around a 10k, not 2k. Actually, they'd love if it was a 2k gold deficit right now. 10k gold deficit, not looking too good for Team Secret as my stream has frozen.
Yeah, mine as well.
Yeah, Hug of Celebrity's beautiful. Just wave here as he's looking to push that. Already looking at this positioning, it's looking to me like SER pivoting. They're looking to find themselves a nice little a little bait hook there. Maybe looks to me that maybe they're going fishing once again. They're gonna try and find someone that's out roaming after dark in these woods.
It would be very nice to do so. And again, this is kind of how SE has been in the rough straits of playing as of lately, because again, they do have difficulty kind of like hard close off games without a big team fight. And so Team Secret, once again, dragging their feet, just making sure it's a little more difficult for SE to be able to do something like this. You do still have the timer on Dragons that are going to be here eventually. You do still have a lot of these neutral objectives that you're going to be commanding, but I feel like Team Secret honestly might just be an annoyance to them and just say, yeah, well, you can take those. We don't care. We'll make you go take those and then force into our base and like take team fights. And if you have one bad team fight, it's going to take you another 5 minutes to actually do these things, which is that, or maybe Penguin just throws.
Penguin, oh my god, the Crescent Strike getting dropped is going to save his life for a little bit longer, and so ultimately he will stay alive, and he needs to be incredibly careful of those soldiers from Dai doing so much work, and so is Celebrity picking himself up too. Going to keep on moving. Empress Defy going to get dropped. Try and find someone. Won't quite get anyone though. Celebrity with the flash going in, trying to get that triple, but the exhaust finally getting dropped. Hit him with the Everfrost as well. You bought yourself a little bit of time, but now you need to hold the line against the entirety that is SE, the play playoff dreams here are looking like a figment of reality for a lot of these teams that were hoping for that tiebreaker, because SC has the base cracked wide open. No more inhibitors and no more Nexus turrets soon. If Celebrity has anything to say about it, down go both. Nexus is exposed. They don't even want kills. They're not greeting. Never mind, they are. But they're not going to find any because the Nexus is going to explode. And with that, SE in commanding fashion take game number 2.
And in all the ways that I think that our foldy sheets could have possibly turned out to kick us into playoffs, this was like the most boring event that actually happened in the grand scheme of things. It kept us excited right up until the last possible game, and then SE just taking a series against Team Secret in what was not even like a really exciting, exhilarating series, but instead kind of just a whimper from Team Secret is a little bit disheartening, is a little bit, it kind of doesn't feel like the poetic ending we were waiting for. We were looking for a roller coaster, but we kind of just got a kiddie ride. But it doesn't matter because now we have our locked teams for playoff. That's super exciting. Well played by SE. I think we have this meme about the circle of SE where every single season they start off well, they sign this superstar roster, and then it ends up being that they kind of fall off in the second half of the split and then they don't make playoffs. This is the first time we've seen them actually get to playoffs as a result of putting together a decent enough roster. And after the first half of the split, I think it was well warranted. So while Wales has been super exciting, while I think even Cerberus has been super exciting in the second half of the split, if SE can kind of recapture the form from previous, I think they was well deserved. So I'm a little happy that they were able to actually finally make it.
Yeah, no, overall great performance coming out for them, and I can already smell the copium coming from the desk here. So why not just send it right over and see what they have to say? Yeah, cope work. Let's hear it. Let's get to the desk.
Well, we have to re-record something, don't we, guys? Well, we'll have to deal with that later, as SE have locked in playoffs. They have avoided the tiebreakers. We have our top 4. Our playoffs in order will be GARM, Team Secret, SGB, and SE. I'm sure we can put the standings on screen while I'm talking. I don't know how much there is to say about that game, but I'll let you have first crack at it, Quincy.
I mean, where do I start? I mean, I'm just disappointed that Cerberus didn't make it. Also said that Wales didn't make it. And I know, Hanka, you are in chat. You said the Wales will make playoffs. Like, where's your promise been? I mean, I expected more. And now I'm just sad that also, while that all happened, SBTC broke the circle of SBTC. So, SBTC on their end, after not so heartening, comforting end of the split, they still made playoffs based on all the results they did, especially in the first half of the split. So, gotta say, if you are just a full match, go ahead. You still deserve it. Can't really argue against that.
Nope, you can't at all. Clockwork, what are your reactions?
Okay, so I am going to start the largest world production of copium, and I'll start by saying that this is not the team secret that we have seen during the regular season, and this is not the team secret that we will see in playoffs. Okay, this was a masterclass of all the uncharacteristic mistakes that we have never seen out of them. Artifact was multiple times out of position. Penguin was very relevant. The bot lane has been Omega gapped the whole series. So I really don't want this to be a preview of their playoffs run, because otherwise that would be tragic. That said, a little tear shed for Team Wales.
Yeah, that Team Wales are the ones most let down here, I feel. I think if it had gone to those tiebreakers, my favorite would have been Team Wales. But with a dominant performance like this, as Quincy said, you absolutely can't take this off SE. They earned this. They have earned their playoff spot. Team Wales, just win more games, KEKW. That's how you do it next split. Now, let's zoom out from this series a little bit. I don't think we need to dwell on this series. We can talk about did Team Secret care, but we don't need to. I want to look at playoffs because we have our 4 teams. I think, and if you would disagree with me, feel free to run over me, analysts. I think it's fairly obvious what our first round matchups are going to be. I think GARM is going to pick SE. They seem like the weakest team. Of course, they can't pick Team Secret, of course. After this performance, maybe they'd want to. And then SE will take on SGB. I don't think so. I think you always pick SE. Are we muted?
Yeah. No, we are muted. Either way.
Is your way trolling?
I don't know. Either way, we cannot tell. So either way, let's just keep talking. And answering that question. So for the side of GARM, they of course can't pick Team Secret, and I think they also wouldn't pick Team Secret, even if they could potentially. Let's just do the hypothetical because we can. Team Secret probably not caring that much about that series, especially the way it went down. Just pick for early game 2 games, just refuse to show literally anything, refuse to elaborate further, and then just leave is what they did. And Saigon Buffalo, that's what my initial point is. While I think they are the second strongest team in the league, they are still definitely much, much stronger than SBTC overall in the second half of the split. So GAM would pick SE and likely stomp over them as they could stomp over any other team. Because that's what I'm kind of getting at right now. Team Secret also can't just get away with that performance just now. This just shows to me that GAM is just a class above the rest, basically.
Mm-hmm. I think we all agree on that. I think we're all looking at playoffs and getting flashbacks to previous years where playoffs was just GAM 3-0, GAM 3-0, GAM 3-0, which is always not the most interesting. I still think SGB can put up a fight against them. I think SGB has always been able to fight GAM, but whether they can win, I mean, I think you can almost start carving a name on that shield.
And personally, I'm also very interested in the little other side of the bracket, not versus BT, but Secret versus Buffalo. This series are always so exciting and so promising. We have seen in spring that they can go toe to toe on a good day, and this is what I want to see also in these playoffs. It will be like round one, and possibly also in lower brackets. So we are in for a very real rivalry escalation here, and I cannot wait to see that.
We could see a best of 10 between Saigon Buffalo and Team Secret for the last world spot, which is very exciting, I think.
I mean, interestingly, I know we disagree on this, Crincy, and we'll have to do a podcast at some point so we can have you and your way properly argue with the point. I personally think SGB will beat Team Secret in round one. Assuming they go up against each other, I still think that's likely. I think if you're GAM, you're crazy to pick SGB. Just pick SE. It's so much easier. I think SGB actually wins that matchup. So we may well get a rematch of SE versus Team Secret to keep their hopes alive. Now, that time, Team Secret will have to care because it could potentially be a lower bracket matchup to keep them in playoffs. Looking back
also,
sorry, go ahead.
One thing onto that, we also had that matchup as a best of 5 in the spring split for MSI, right? And was also going to 5 games, if I remember correctly. And that Team Secret from then still overall, I think, has leveled up a little bit, while Saigon Buffalo didn't have the best summer split. But I agree full-heartedly, it is a very close series, likely. And I think SGB has more than decent chances to beat Team Secret. However, if I had to pick one team, it would be them.
So, looking back on the whole split, let's zoom on out. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and then we'll wrap up our show for the day. As I have a very angry baby in my house. Who has been your most surprising team? And I want to ask this in both a positive and a negative way. So, who's been your biggest positive surprise, and who's been your biggest negative surprise? Clockwork.
This is limited to playoffs only, or everyone?
No, just in general. In general.
I would say Team Wales. Everyone was kind of iffy on their chances since their Killer Queen bit up and down, Glory not always like this elite mid laner, and we had a lot of doubts about them. We most all placed them around 6th, maybe even 7th, and instead they were at the edge of playoffs, showing a very solid performance towards the end. So I think eventually Team Wales was a great surprise, and it made this like middle of the pack group of teams really exciting, and the race was literally so close. So I hope they can keep up with this roster for the next place.
Crincy, who is your positive surprise?
My positive surprise would be AS Esports. They were taking 3 wins out of a total of 18 series. Initially, they as a full rookie team promoting was like us saying like maybe they just lose every single game, and then they actually were very efficient. They also won 2-0 in those few matches they did win, and getting 3 out of those as a rookie team, outmatching Genius Esports with a team full of veterans is definitely a surprise, but a welcome one. And I think AS Esports looking for the next splits might just be a decent team looking for assuming they keep the VCS spot and don't get relegated, that they could also fight for the lower player spots or at least like the safe spots in the 5th and 6th place.
Yeah, and honestly, AS Esports, even if the org itself does get relegated, I think Playcool and Uji, at the very least, are 2 prospects that the VCS has found and goddamn, do we need more mid laners? So play cool. Keep on it, mate. Don't stop. Moving over to perhaps a slightly less happy side of it. Who has been your letdown of the split, Quincy?
I mean, I just gotta admit it, right? I mean, I am a huge Cerberus fan, and while I still love them, I have to accept their flaws and won't just bullshit around it. They have been a huge disappointment this split. They went from Winter Split champion to just barely making playoffs and getting bombed out 3-0 by Team Secret in spring to just now missing players and being just one spot away from relegation, basically. As AS Esports is just of course, significant amount of match score behind them, but they are 6th place. And a team like Artemis, a team with Artemis, should not be in this position. And please just get Artemis a team, as all the Cerberus fans, if they keep having to look at this, they just lose all their color.
Clockwork, what about you?
Crazy's answer is spot on. I also want to mention for the disappointing prize, Genius. We also were around 6th place for their placement with players that we valued, like Coated, like Blazes, and so on. But eventually, nothing worked for them, and they end up like rock bottom. So, as I said before, the first series, this is not a team that I would like to see in the next edition of VCS, and for good reason.
Fair enough. Overall, though, I do think this has been a very, very good split of VCS. As we look back on it, now that all that lies before us is playoffs, which do start very soon, by the way. They do start. We'll get the exact dates at some point, but it's days, not weeks. It starts. Okay, it starts on the 24th. So that's in 3 days. We will have our first round of playoffs. So make sure you're here for that. But I just want to say, overall, I think this has been a wonderful split for the VCS. It's had its ups and downs, no question. We are now looking potentially at a tyrant in Garm, which, I mean, it might not be the most interesting thing in the world, but it is really good to watch. They are an incredible team. I think SGB can give them a red-hot challenge. Quincy thinks Team Secret can give them a red-hot challenge, but we'll have to see how they go. And from all of us here at VCS English, my name is Carrix, Clockwork, and Quincy are with me. We had Rebel and Echo KO on the mic. We have producer Spoods, who has made all of these wonderful graphics you see on screen. Thank you so much for joining us all split long. We will be back for playoffs in 3 days. Do not miss it.